Chapter 5193. Yi Qing Luo summoned Qi Yan, not to deal with Huang Wuyo. Qi Yan's blazing flame could purify all the darkness in the world. Even if it couldn't purify Huang Wuyo's profound Yin Qi. But it would definitely affect the profound Yin Qi to a certain extent. Furthermore, earlier when she made her move, the underground cave wasn't affected in the slightest. She already had a guess in her heart. This underground cave, perhaps it wasn't the real devil domain any longer. Or, to be more accurate, she was now in a completely different space. And this space was created by Huang Wuyo. So, any kind of power was unable to destroy this illusory space. The so-called underground cave, passageway, was probably just an illusion. Which was also commonly known as illusion. The truth had proven that Yi Qing Luo's guess was right. When Qi Yan came out and released the blazing flame, the entire underground cave was indeed affected. Huang Wuyo was overly confident, totally not putting Qi Yan in his eyes. Adding on to the fact that his attention had always been focused on Yi Qing Luo. Because of this, he totally didn't notice Qi Yan's motive. When the blazing flame burned the entire underground cave, the place where the profound Yin Qi was the densest, which was the source of the profound Yin Qi, would naturally be affected. This also gave Yi Qing Luo an accurate location. The direction where Yi Qing Luo and Qi Yan attacked earlier. It was the direction which led to the source of the profound Yin Qi. Yi Qing Luo guessed that could possibly be the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed. Originally, Yi Qing Luo was guessing. But now, seeing Huang Wuyo's reaction, she was basically completely certain. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose slightly as her pink lips pursed slightly. Huang Wuyo. No matter if it's because you're Huang Wuyo or the Palace Lord of Secluded Darkness, today I will atone for everything that you've done. There was a hint of coldness in her voice. And sonorous and forceful, showing her determination. Her vision paused for a moment on Huang Wuyo's face. Following that, she suddenly flipped her hand and placed Long Ao, who was already covered in scales, in front of her, as she leapt and flew towards the fire cave. Her speed was extremely fast. The peach blossom dress only left behind a beautiful arc. Huang Wuyo's pupils trembled as he gritted his teeth and flew into a rage out of humiliation. Feng Qing Luo, come back here. With a quick sweep of his hand, the surging profound Yin Qi surged toward Xian Gui. Xian Gui's turtle shell was extremely hard. However, the mysterious Yin Qi that was filled with Yin Qi was like a thick black fog that covered it bit by bit. That kind of heavy and chilly feeling that made it impossible for it to move was still not a good feeling. Huang Wuyo passed by Xian Gui and wanted to rush towards Yi Qing Luo to stop her from entering the fire ring. Xian Gui suddenly rose into the air. The indestructible turtle shell fiercely slammed into Huang Wuyo's back. Then, in the blink of an eye, he disappeared in the direction of the young girl. At the same time, the girl's figure completely disappeared from the ring of fire. His disciples left behind blazing flames that burned brightly. The lingering sparks shone brilliantly on their faces. It also reflected the sinister and treacherous expressions of the two people. Huang Wuyo cursed under his breath as he clenched his fists tightly and chased after the ring of fire. A hand suddenly blocked in front of him. Huang Wuyo raised his eyes and met with Long Ao's cold and treacherous eyes which seemed to be ridiculing and ridiculing. His face sunk. Get lost. Your daughter indeed looks like that woman. Long Ao's gloomy and cold voice had a tinge of ridicule. Chapter 5194. 10,000 years ago, you lost to that new Rao. 10,000 years later, you're still being played around by that new Rao's daughter. Long Ao's tone was filled with ridicule. Revered Wu Yu, look at your flustered and exasperated look, it's really ridiculous. Long Ao, long. Huang Wuyo gritted his teeth as he raised his hand and locked onto Long Ao's neck, pressing him against the stone wall. what are you so pleased about? Did you really think that you're going to help that woman now? She won't know that you're actually my man? Speaking till here, he suddenly laughed lowly. Don't forget, it's you who tricked her into coming to my formation. Long Ao's expression didn't show much emotion. He curled his thin lips, as a hint of ridicule flashed past his cold and gloomy eyes. That murderous, bloody and ruthless aura surfaced on his brows. He said, the moment she pushed me away. I'm afraid, she had already guessed it. Long Ao's brows drooped slightly. That cold and stiff face was covered with a thick gloomy ruthlessness. This daughter of yours is smarter than you think. She's right about one thing, you're indeed overly confident. If you want to leave this place successfully, it's best not to look at her. Passed through the fire circle. Yiqing Luo supported herself against the wall as she stabilized her footsteps. What entered her eyes was a huge tomb chamber. No. Or perhaps it was a slaughterhouse. This was a huge tomb chamber. The place where Yiqing Luo was at was the entrance of this tomb chamber. Huge coffins were placed one after another, filling up the entire chamber. Yiqing Luo looked over. In the huge tomb chamber, there were at least hundreds of coffins. All the coffin lids weren't closed, as they were neatly lined up in a row, horizontally beside the coffins. But the most shocking thing was, many of the open coffins had naked corpses hanging on them, pierced through the human body with a sharp hook. Yiqing Luo also discovered that there were a few who were still alive. Those corpses hanging above the coffins, or living people, were all covered with blood-red threads, almost forming a red net, entangling them. Even for Yiqing Luo, when she saw this scene, she shuddered. What was Huang Wuyo doing? How could such a terrible azure field be created here? Yiqing Luo was just about to step into the tomb. Suddenly, he heard footsteps coming from the front. She immediately dodged and hid in the dark of the cave entrance. When he looked over, he saw a group of people carrying wooden basins and walking into the coffin in an orderly manner. No, those people couldn't be called people. Yiqing Luo could obviously sense the thick profound yin qi from them. It was a corpse puppet. These undead puppets were different from what Yiqing Luo had seen previously. They didn't look much different from normal people. The only difference was that his face was expressionless, and his eyes were lifeless. There was not the slightest fluctuation. There were a total of 8 undead puppets. Each puppet held a wooden basin in their hands. From this distance, Yiqing Luo couldn't see what was in the wooden basin. The dead corpse puppets were expressionless as they walked to Lu Zai's coffin in an orderly manner. Then, he poured the contents of the wooden basin into the coffin. This one pour. Yiqing Luo only saw some black-red liquid in the wooden basin. There were some things floating on top. After the dead corpse puppets finished pouring the liquid, another dead corpse puppet came over and took over the wooden basin. Chapter 5195. It was orderly, like an assembly line project. He focused on doing the things at hand as if there was nothing else around him. After the black-red liquid was poured into the coffins, the living man hanging in the air, still breathing, was put into the coffin bit by bit. When the black hooks above fell, those who were still conscious widened their eyes in horror, wanting to struggle. Despite the large amount of blood that the hooks had hooked out of his body, he struggled with all his might. But they were still placed into the coffins. But when a few living people entered the coffins, Yiqing Luo couldn't see what happened in the coffins from this angle. She only saw the moment the people entered. A black-red mist sprang up from the coffins, and immediately after, it was covered with balls of profound yin qi. Vaguely, Yiqing Luo seemed to see those living coffins, one by one, stretched out 2 hands at the same time. Stretched out perfectly straight. Then, it was surrounded by the profound yin qi. The arms were covered with densely packed bloodlines, following the profound yin qi as it seeped out. But after a moment, Yiqing Luo saw those pairs of hands, withering at a speed visible to the naked eye, leaving only a layer of skin and bones. After that, pairs of skin and bones hands fell into the coffins. When the bones touched the coffins, there was a bang sound. After doing all this, those corpse puppets, one by one, turned around and left expressionlessly. This is... Old Man Tsang's horrified voice sounded in Yiqing Luo's mind, Yin bloodlust skill. The azure dew bracelet on her wrist was somewhat restless, as if Old Man Tsang wanted to drill out from inside, but was trying his best to suppress it. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pressed on the azure dew bracelet. What is Yin bloodlust skill? The young lady's slender fingers gently brushed over the azure dew bracelet, suppressing Old Man Tsang's restlessness. Over there, hundreds of coffins, to Old Man Tsang's spiritual body, had a great attraction. As if there was some kind of power enticing Old Man Tsang. Fortunately, the azure dew bracelet suppressed Old Man Tsang's impulse. Coupled with Yiqing Luo's comfort, Old Man Tsang calmed down. His tone was a little gloomy. I've only seen descriptions of this technique in ancient books. I'm not too sure about the specifics. This cultivation technique is an ancient forbidden curse, extremely sinister. 100 coffins, fresh blood and flesh, watered with blood. Old Man Tsang's tone became more and more gloomy, as if he was suppressing the emotions in his heart. This place of extreme yin, to cultivate such an ancient and sinister cultivation method, the person behind the scenes of Dark Nether Palace, wants to destroy the world? Hearing Old Man Tsang's words, Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. This cultivation method was actually so powerful, destroy the world? Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and looked ahead at the hundreds of coffins. She didn't know if it was because of Old Man Tsang's words, but she seemed to smell a faint scent of blood under the dense profound yin energy. The blood threads that were entwined by the mysterious yin qi formed a dense blood web above the coffin. Then, he followed the guidance of the mysterious yin qi. Little by little, it spread forward. The blood threads weaved into a huge net that penetrated the stone wall in front of them and slid forward bit by bit. That direction, Yiqing Luo pressed the azure dew bracelet, as she asked in her heart, Old Man Tsang, what is the use of this Yin bloodlust skill? Old Man Tsang's tone was heavy, as he said word by word, the ancient books didn't record it in detail, but according to my observation. I think that the Dark Nether Palace set up the forbidden curse here, to cultivate the Yin bloodlust skill. Their motive is probably. Chapter 5196. Yiqing Luo's eyes squinted slightly as she continued Old Man Tsang's words, to undo the seal. Old Man Tsang remained silent, which was considered as tacit agreement. When she saw this place, Yiqing Luo already had some guesses. After all, in this place, the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed. In 10,000 years, it had turned into a place of extreme yin, with yin qi lingering around. Coupled with what the Devil Hall said earlier, secluded palace was in the Devil Domain, which was also the secret powerhouse of this sealed land. Every day, there would be a batch of young cultivators being brought into the secret base. Moreover, she didn't see those cultivators leaving the secret base alive. Yiqing Luo used her brain a little and roughly guessed some things. Those young cultivators had probably become the tools to bleed in their coffins. And the motive? Other than undoing the seal, Yiqing Luo couldn't think of any other reason. Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo squinted her long and narrow eyes as her gaze followed the sky full of blood web, concentrating on the direction where the blood web was pouring into. She pursed her pink lips. Over there, is that the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed? No wonder Huang Wuyo's ability was getting stronger and stronger. After being sealed, he was still able to split out his consciousness to create trouble time and time again. Previously, Huang Wuyo could only hide in the dark corner, playing with people's hearts to achieve his own motive. Later on, he was able to split out his consciousness and possess Gu Jingyu's body to exchange blows with her. Until now, he was able to split out his consciousness and congeal it into a living person, appearing in front of her. Huang Wuyo was gradually becoming stronger. Probably using this heavenly Yin blood-devouring technique. Huang Wuyo wanted to make use of heavenly Yin blood-devouring technique to restore his sealed strength. From there, he would break the seal and regain his freedom. After all, it had been 10,000 years. The seal which Feng Gu had set up was not as strong and indestructible as it was 10,000 years ago. Following the recovery of Huang Wuyo's strength, the seal which Feng Gu had set up started to loosen. This was the reason why Huang Wuyo had so many chances to escape. No wonder Huang Wuyo wanted to establish a force called Secluded Palace. He couldn't show himself. And the amount of resources needed was simply too much. To nurture such an inhumane and insane force like Secluded Palace, it could bring Huang Wuyo numerous conveniences. But how innocent were those profounders? Why should she sacrifice herself for him? Just because the weak are prey to the strong? Yiqing Luo couldn't agree with Huang Wuyo's way of doing things. Just like how she couldn't forgive Huang Wuyo for everything he had done for the sake of his ambitions. Girl, you should be careful. Old man Tsang's voice was somewhat grave. This place is Huang Wuyo's territory. He has used the demonic dragon to lure you here, so he definitely has a plan. Long Outyen was mentioned. Yiqing Luo's curly long lashes drooped slightly as there was a trace of unclear emotions in her eyes. In his heart, he was more or less unhappy. In the beginning, she really did not suspect that Long Outyen was in cahoots with Huang Wuyo. Long Outyen was a man with that kind of personality. It was either black or white. People like Huang Wuyo, who liked to play tricks and scheme, were not easy to deal with. Long Outyen would definitely not be shameless. Therefore, when Long Outyen mentioned that he knew where Huang Wuyo was sealed and brought her there, she did not doubt his words at all. He finally realized that there was a problem between Long Outyen and Huang Wuyo. It was when she summoned Qi Yan and released the raging flames. Chapter 5197. He was just trying to stop her. Long Outyen's motive was to cooperate with Huang Wuyo to keep her in that illusory space that was isolated from the outside world. But in order to let her enter this place safely, Long Outyen had blocked all the dangers in front of her. So when she knew that Long Outyen and Huang Wuyo had teamed up, she still couldn't blame him. Perhaps, this was Long Outyen's motive. Or perhaps she believed that one's mouth could lie, but not one's eyes. She could clearly feel that. When Huang Wuyo mentioned Feng Gu, the change in Long Outyen's gaze and expression, that absolutely couldn't be faked. Perhaps, in Long Outyen's heart, Feng Gu really occupied a very important position. Even if Feng Gu had sealed her in the Divine Emperor's tomb for 10,000 years, Long Outyen had never hated her. Perhaps, Long Outyen really had some difficulties. But these difficulties had nothing to do with her. Yiqing Luo adjusted her emotions and caressed the azure dew bracelet lightly. I know, I won't be rash, I want to survive more than anyone else. That cultivation method is too attractive to the spiritual body. That cultivation method wants to absorb me to become its nourishment. Old man Tsang's tone was very heavy and somewhat strained. I have to hide in the purgatory tower and temporarily fall into a deep sleep. Be careful. Yiqing Luo caressed the azure dew bracelet lightly. I know, go ahead. Old man Tsang's aura gradually disappeared into the azure dew bracelet. Yiqing Luo released the azure dew bracelet and slightly raised her eyes, staring at the sky full of blood web. At this moment, if he destroyed all the coffins that had been set up with the sinister forbidden spell, it would be impossible for him to escape. Huang Wuyo's plan, wouldn't it come to nothing? Cut off the source of Huang Wuyo's power. Could stop Huang Wuyo from regaining his strength. But If it was really like what she had predicted. How could she destroy this Azura hell so easily? With Huang Wuyo's cautious character, she absolutely had no way to easily destroy this place. She had to think of a way. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes flickered incessantly, flowing with splendor. She paused for a moment, then quietly moved her body toward the direction of the coffin and stretched out her body. She had just moved. His wrist was suddenly grasped by a large, ice-cold palm. The powerful force made her unable to move even half a step. Yiqing Luo's petite body instantly collapsed as she speedily turned around and raised her palm to attack. However, his outstretched hand was held tightly by another large palm. The refreshing fragrance of plums seeped into his nose. Yiqing Luo's struggling movements stopped slightly. What entered her eyes was a face that was as cold as cast. That pair of emotionless black eyes reflected her thoughts. The man's thin lips were slightly pursed and his expression was cold. Just like his aura, it was also extremely cold. Yiqing Luo frowned as she suppressed her voice. "Zhuwu Xian, what are you doing here?" The man in front of him was dressed in a fiery red robe, but he looked cold. Who else could it be but Zhu Wuxin? The moment she opened her mouth, the man raised his hand to block her lips. The girl leaned back and moved her head away, avoiding Zhu Wuxin's hand. Zhu Wuxin had no intention of forcing it. Seeing that she had calmed down, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. The young lady's elbow bent as she blocked his chest. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she raised her eyes to look at him. Her eyes were filled with doubts. Zhu Wuxin quietly opened that pair of deep and emotionless eyes, staring straight at her for some time. It made Yiqing Luo's hair stand on end. Chapter 5198. Following that, he lowered his body slightly. That black hair which was hanging on his shoulder fell onto her body. Yiqing Luo's elbow exerted strength as she tried to retreat further away from him. He had already leaned towards her ear as he spoke in an extremely soft voice, "Don't move." Yiqing Luo's elbow pressed against him as she bit her lips, gritting her teeth in anger. "Let go. If you go over, you'll be sending yourself to your death." Zhu Wuxian's voice was indifferent. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. "Who said I'm going over?" She wasn't an idiot. How could she possibly rush forward rashly? She had found the exit of that illusory space through the raging flames. Huang Wuyo had a high possibility of knowing her current location. The minute she made any movements, Huang Wuyo would find her. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Zhu Wuxian's hand stiffened as he immediately turned silent. His brows drooped slightly. This distance, this angle. Yiqing Luo could clearly see that crow's feather-like eyelashes drooping slightly. Probably because Zhu Wuxian was used to being cold. At this moment, looking at his eyelashes, one would feel that the arc of the shadow was a little cold. His face was expressionless and extremely cold. Yiqing Luo couldn't tell what he was feeling right now. He had no intention to let go of her. But she really couldn't take it. Yiqing Luo struggled as she tried to pry his hand away. "Let go." This time, Zhu Wuxian only slightly withdrew his palm, as though he wanted to hold her again. But he only held her for a moment before he lowered his eyes and let go of her. Yiqing Luo immediately retreated, leaving the boundary of his presence. Looking at the young lady's unfamiliar and alienating attitude, Zhu Wuxian's emotionless eyes flashed past a tinge of pain. His vision lightly swept past those 100 coffins. Retracting his vision, he leaned against the stone wall as his voice was very light as he spoke indifferently, "As long as you don't do anything silly." "Why are you here?" Yiqing Luo repeated her own question. This place was where Huang Wuyo was sealed. Even if Huang Wuyo and Zhu Wuxian were in a cooperative relationship, Yiqing Luo absolutely didn't believe that Huang Wuyo would tell Zhu Wuxian where he was residing. After all, the him now was still in a sealed state. Chu Wuxin's strength was unfathomable. If they knew that he was sealed, they would do something to him. That would become a pile of big trouble. Thus, how could Zhu Wuxin possibly appear here? Zhu Wuxin was silent for a moment. His cold and thin lips pursed slightly as he said indifferently, "I followed you here." "Follow me?" Yiqing Luo frowned. She had followed Long Outyan to this place. Chu Wuxin had been following them all this time, and neither she nor Long Outyan had noticed. This Zhu Wuxin, just how strong was he? Chu Wuxin gazed deeply at her face. His slightly hoarse and cold voice carried a hint of imperceptible gentleness. "The Yin energy here is very heavy. I was worried about you, so I followed you." Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. "So, you have been following me secretly?" Was he a king idiot? Chu Wuxin nodded and then shook his head. On his cold and handsome face, there was actually an expression similar to that of being wronged. That kind of grievance was shown by Zhu Wuxian, who had facial paralysis, but it didn't seem out of place. "The God Emperor's tomb has appeared and you've succeeded the throne as the new divine phoenix. I know of Abyss Palace's thirst for the inheritance, and I also know that Abyss Palace has ill intentions towards you." He paused slightly. Those who weren't good at explaining unnaturally licked their dry lips. "I'm just worried about you." Chapter 5199. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed. Towards Zhu Wuxian, he rarely showed this kind of expression and emotions in front of outsiders and only showed to her. Even welcome, based on his character, he would never say such sweet nothings. In front of her, time and time again. Facing such a stubborn person. Yiqing Luo really didn't know how to face him. Cold and neglect. None of them were able to make Zhu Wuxian let go of his obsession towards her. Now. To think that he had followed her to this dangerous place. No matter how strong his ability was. To be called a monster by Long Ao, to be able to cross hands with Feng Gu at his peak, and was totally not inferior to Feng Gu. In this territory which belonged to Huang Wuyu. Once it triggered Huang Wuyu's retaliation. Huang Wuyu probably wouldn't care about Zhu Wuxian and directly took action. As though he saw the worry in Yiqing Luo's eyes. A hint of a smile appeared on the man's cold face. He gazed at Yiqing Luo, as his deep eyes seemed to be filled with tenderness. "You're worried about me." It wasn't a question, but a statement. From Yiqing Luo, he sensed the concern in her heart. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much change. She opened her long and narrow eyes as she met his gaze calmly. "I don't want to accept your feelings." The young lady's words were icy cold. She had rejected him cleanly. Not even a single thought was left for him. Zhu Wuxian's pitch-black eyes floated a few wisps of chilly glint, as it faintly revealed a ruthless aura. But very quickly, it was suppressed by him. Yiqing Luo, whose mind was filled with thoughts on how to reject Zhu Wuxian, didn't see this detail. This sentence was actually not a lie to agitate Zhu Wuxian. She wasn't willing to accept Zhu Wuxian's feelings. Because she didn't want to have too much to do with him. The minute he really got injured or paid any price for her. She was afraid that she would feel a tiny bit of guilt towards Zhu Wuxian. She didn't need this chance to feel guilty. Her heart was very soft. It could only accommodate Dmo Xian alone. The smile on Zhu Wuxian's face slowly faded, as he regained his usual grave and stern look. However, his gaze was still fixated on her without blinking. Then, his thin lips moved slightly as he calmly changed the topic. "Only I can help you here." Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to reply, he continued, "Don't be in a hurry to reject me, after all. I also want to get out of here alive." Yiqing Luo's words were stuck in her throat. Because of her, Chu Wuxin had entered Huang Wuyu's sealed land. Whether it was her wish or not. It was already a fact that Chu Wuxin was standing there. Nothing else would be of any use now. She acted alone. He might as well stay with Zhu Wuxin. Now, old man Tsang wasn't here. There were many things that she did not understand, but Zhu Wuxin did. After staying silent for a moment, Yiqing Luo didn't have any intention to reject Zhu Wuxian following by her side. She retreated a little further away from the man, trying her best to avoid being too close to him and being contaminated by his scent. Her pink lips moved slightly, and she said silently, "Do you know what this is?" Zhu Wuxin nodded. Yiqing Luo replied, "Then do you know of any way to destroy this array?" Zhu Wuxin shook his head. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as the glint in her eyes dimmed. The next moment, Zhu Wuxian raised his hand and touched her. An icy cold touch brushed past her hand. Chapter 5200. Yiqing Luo was still puzzled over why Zhu Wuxian's hand was so cold when she heard his icy cold voice entering her ears. "Look over there." Yiqing Luo subconsciously raised her eyes as she followed Zhu Wuxian's gaze. Over 100 coffins began to sway slowly, bit by bit. The extent of the swaying was very big. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't be able to detect it. Yiqing Luo wanted to ask Zhu Wuxian why his hand was cold, but she instantly threw it to the back of her mind. She stared unblinkingly at the hundreds of coffins. She didn't notice it. While her attention was fully focused on the coffins. The brows of the man beside her, who was as cold as cast, sank slightly. His crow's feather lashes covered the dark storm beneath his eyes. His arms hung down slightly, and under his wide red sleeves, his 5 fingers were clenched into a fist. If he didn't sense wrongly. Earlier, Yiqing Luo was worried about him. But it was merely because of the movement of the coffins. She had completely isolated him from the outside world. If it was anyone else, there was no need to use Dmo Xian as a comparison. Even if it was any member of her mercenary group, any unknown character, she would probably be more concerned until she ascertained that the other party was really fine before she could be at ease to pay attention to other matters. In her heart, he totally didn't exist at all. Yiqing Luo didn't notice the change in Zhu Wuxian's emotions. She could vaguely feel the cool yin qi behind her. She assumed that this was because she was in Huang Wuyu's sealed grounds and the surroundings were filled with dense yin qi. It was normal to feel the yin qi. The hundreds of coffins in front started to sway slightly but slowly, the frequency of the swaying increased. In the end, it became violent swaying. Yiqing Luo could even hear the sound of the coffins hitting the ground. But when the coffins were shaking violently, the orderly undead corpse puppet still hadn't appeared. This also meant that this kind of swaying was within the normal operating range. While the coffins were shaking, Yiqing Luo saw wave after wave of black-red liquid surging up to the top of the coffins. Wasn't that the liquid which the corpse puppets poured into the coffins? At this moment, the black-red liquid was boiling in the coffins. From time to time, it entered Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she seemed to understand the reason for the coffin's shaking. It was as if, because of the boiling liquid in the coffin, even the coffin was shaking. What exactly was that liquid? How could it create such a strong boiling point? Even the coffin can shake. Furthermore, just now, it was the black and red liquid that weaved the flesh and blood of the living people hanging on the sharp hooks into a blood net. Yiqing Luo had a rough guess in her heart. Perhaps this coffin and the living person with the sharp hook were just tools and arrays. But the real thing that gathered the array and cultivated the bloodthirsty yin art, was the dark red liquid. The liquid was the true condensation of the cultivation technique. Using the blood web as a thread, it poured into Huang Wuyu's seal and became the crux of Huang Wuyu's strength. That's a medicine concocted by combining the profound jade heart of a newborn profound practitioner with a forbidden curse. Behind her, the man explained in a low voice. while Yiqing Luo's attention was placed on the coffin. The distance between them was a little too close. When he said that, his voice was very soft, but it clearly entered Yiqing Luo's ears. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her eyelashes trembled slightly. Chapter 5201. A Newborn Profound Cultivator's Profound Heart Jade? There was only one way to obtain a newborn profound cultivator's profound heart jade. That was: dig out the heart and snatch the jade. This Huang Wuyo was probably really deranged. He didn't even let the babies off. Yiqing Luo admitted that she wasn't considered as a good person. But she would absolutely not destroy her worldview, just for her own benefit without caring about anything else. Huang Wuyo, this kind of scum, was so scum that it angered even the gods. That black-red liquid was refined from that cultivator's profound heart jade. This obviously wasn't the first batch. And Huang Wuyo was able to grow stronger step by step to his current state. Apparently he had already started on this method. Such a huge project. How many cultivators had been sacrificed, how many babies, how many innocent lives had been lost. Yiqing Luo's eyes started to fill with a cold malevolence and anger. Don't be angry. Chu Wuxian's eyes drooped slightly as he looked at the young lady in front of him who was emitting a cold intent. No matter how angry you are, acting rashly is of no use. I have an idea. When Yiqing Luo said this, a cold glint flashed past her eyes. Her pink lips curled frivolously, but that arc was bone-chilling. I need your help. Chu Wuxian's thin lips curled slightly. What do you want me to do? Yiqing Luo's gaze shot towards the violently shaking coffin. Looking at the blood web, the cold arc on her lips turned gloomier. I think it's very simple, but... She paused for a moment and her voice was clear. With your ability, are you able to hide from Huang Wuyo after he discovers you? You want me to attract his attention? Chu Wuxian asked, what do you want to do? Yiqing Luo nodded, I have my own ways to deal with Huang Wuyo. Her curly long eyelashes fluttered like a butterfly's wings, concealing her eyes and the emotions on her face. She said calmly, even if I'm unable to stop Huang Wuyo from breaking the seal, I will definitely make him suffer a heavy injury. Chu Wuxian remained silent for a moment. That pair of deep black eyes congealed on that young lady's gorgeous face. That scorching, deep gaze. After a long time, he spat out a word, all right. His words fell. Yiqing Luo only felt a cool breeze caressing her face. Then, a red shadow flashed past. The man's figure had already disappeared before the young girl's eyes. In the blink of an eye, panicked footsteps and the sounds of fighting could be heard from the other end of the coffin. The surging mysterious Yin Qi suddenly surged forward. Looks like Huang Wuyo was also attracted by Zhu Wuxin. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted dangerously as her body moved swiftly and stepped into the coffin. Hundreds of coffins shook the ground. Yiqing Luo felt as though her own body was swaying along with the vibration of the coffin. He stepped into the coffin. Yiqing Luo could see the situation in the coffin. White bones could be vaguely seen in the boiling black and red liquid. Moreover, the bones piled up took up at least half of the entire coffin. This obviously showed exactly how many profounders were buried within these coffins. At a close distance, Yiqing Luo also saw that on top of the boiling black-red liquid, there were many fine granules floating. The liquid was boiling too fast. Yiqing Luo didn't really see it. She could roughly see those fine granules piling up one by one, forming a blood web which covered the entire cave. Chapter 5202. It was these things. She drew out all the blood water which was soaked in the black-red liquid in all the coffins. It was these things which gathered the energy from this sinister cultivation method onto Huang Wuyo's body. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a faint cold glint. She could hear the sounds of fighting coming from not too far away. She didn't think any further. With a sweep of her fingers, she took out several exquisite porcelain bottles from the profound phoenix ring. She took a look at the porcelain bottles and opened the bottle cap. A rich medicinal fragrance assaulted her nostrils. Yiqing Luo held the bottle and quickly poured it into the coffins. Her speed was very fast. As she took out the bottle from the profound phoenix ring, she moved around the coffins and poured the medicine in the bottle, no matter if it was in liquid or powder, into the coffins. But in an instant, she couldn't find the bottle anymore. Yiqing Luo calculated silently in her heart. Out of those hundreds of coffins, she had poured about 50 to 60 of them. Looking at the empty porcelain bottles in the profound phoenix ring, Lin Fan felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo's heart was in extreme pain. This was simply a huge loss. All the various poisons which she had refined and brought along with her just in case, were all poured into the coffins. Among them were many poisons which were refined from extremely precious poisonous herbs. If these poisons weren't able to poison Huang Wuyo to death, she would vomit blood. Yes, poison. From knowing the connection between Heavenly Yin blood-devouring technique and Huang Wuyo, she had an idea. If these blood webs were the source of Huang Wuyo's energy, she was unable to destroy this array. Then, what about contaminating the blood webs? The blood webs which had been corroded by the poison entered Huang Wuyo's seal and was absorbed by Huang Wuyo. All the poison entered Huang Wuyo's body. Could it affect Huang Wuyo's body? Even if it couldn't kill Huang Wuyo, at least it would make him lose the power to create trouble. After Yiqing Luo finished pouring the poison, she speedily headed towards the direction of the battle. She wasn't too clear about Zhu Wu Xian's ability. But Zhu Wu Xian had created such a huge commotion. The minute Huang Wuyo made a move, it would be hard for him to escape. After she settled this, she had to remind Zhu Wu Xian to avoid Huang Wuyo and wait for the poison to take effect. The dense and dark mysterious Yin Qi rolled like clouds, lingering in the air of the tunnel in waves, as if it could freeze the air. After smelling the Qi of mysterious Yin, the expressionless undead corpse puppets became increasingly frenzied as they attacked the invaders. The man's red robe fluttered in the wind. As his robes fluttered, he did not give the undead corpse puppets a chance to touch him. The corpse puppets let out low moans, which sounded like the roars of wild beasts, but also like strange howls. Anyone who heard it would feel their hairs stand on end. Oh, isn't this young Master Chu? Ah, no, I should call him Pavilion Master Chu of the Red Clarity Pavilion now. A sinister and treacherous voice approached from afar. The corpses surrounding Zhu Wuxin instantly scattered to the sides. Zhu Wuxin stopped his attack, stood with his hands behind his back, and looked ahead expressionlessly. When the corpse puppets respectfully opened up a path, they saw a man dressed in black like a specter, taking steady steps as he walked over with an imposing manner. His footsteps were neither fast nor slow. That face looked warm, but it was polluted by the sinister emotions between his brows, looking like it was filled with viciousness, making it hard to get close. Chapter 5203. When Zhu Wu Xian saw that man, he wasn't surprised at all. His eyes were calm as he met the other party's gaze calmly. One cold, one evil. Both their auras clashed against each other, as though it could overturn the entire tunnel. Pavilion Master Chu seems to be devoted to this seat's obedient daughter. The man's tone was filled with ridicule, with hints of malicious ridicule. For her, you gave up your own benefits and betrayed the collaboration with this seat. Now, for her, you dare to appear in front of this seat. The man sneered, do you really think this seat doesn't dare to kill you? Secluded palace. The mastermind. Zhu Wu Xian looked at the man in front of him, that clear but vicious face. From his facial features, he could vaguely see Yiqing Luo's shadow. Yiqing Luo looked more like Feng Gu. But it wasn't hard to tell that the man in front of him was Yiqing Luo's father. This was the first time Zhu Wu Xian met the mastermind of Secluded Palace, who was Huang Wuyo himself. All along, the collaboration with Secluded Palace. The one who negotiated was mostly Gu Jingyu, that palace lord of Secluded Palace. At most, he had heard Huang Wuyo's voice and had a conversation with him. Upon hearing Huang Wuyo's voice, Zhu Wu Xian recognized the other party. Huang Wuyo walked towards Zhu Wu Xian and stood in front of him as his lips curled into a sinister arc. Pavilion Master Chu, you suddenly lost contact and cancelled the collaboration between Red Clear Pavilion and Secluded Palace. These losses, Pavilion Master Chu has yet to compensate this seat. This seat has been looking for you for a very long time. I'd not expected you to send yourself to my doorstep. Huang Wuyo gave a low and deep laugh. That laughter was mixed with a sinister feeling which made one's hair stand on end. Zhu Wu Xian allowed Huang Wuyo to laugh and allowed him to ridicule him. It was until Huang Wuyo stopped when he opened his mouth expressionlessly. Yiqing Luo, I must bring her away. Huang Wuyo laughed even more exaggeratedly. After laughing, he then opened his mouth to ridicule. Pavilion Master Chu, since you like this seat's daughter so much, why not? This seat help you make the decision and betroth my daughter to you, how about that? The smile on his lips was filled with even more malice. Looking at Zhu Wuxin's emotional face, he continued, Pavilion Master Chu, in any case, we are old friends. If the two of us join hands, let alone the immortal realm, even the other great realms will be ours. Since you like Luo, I will betroth Luo, to you. And you, will take Luo, and live with me forever. Ambition and love are all there now. Isn't this perfect? You can't control Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wu Xian opened his mouth calmly, she doesn't like me, and also hates your existence. A stubborn lady like Yiqing Luo. How could it be as Huang Wuyo had said? Just because you say so? Most importantly, he was very clear on Yiqing Luo's hatred towards Zhu Wu Xian. Yiqing Luo loved her mother deeply. Feng Ji's death was caused by Huang Wuyo. Under such hatred, Huang Wuyo was still attempting to control Yiqing Luo's future. Not to mention what methods Huang Wuyo was intending to use to force Yiqing Luo to submit. It was impossible for him to agree to it. If being overbearing was useful, he wouldn't have waited till now. He didn't want to see Yiqing Luo's disappointed gaze towards him. He also didn't want to see Yiqing Luo's eyes filled with hatred when she saw him. Chapter 5204. Heh, you're really a coward. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly, if you like her, then you should snatch her away and make her your own. Zhu Wu Xian ignored his ridicule as he replied expressionlessly, if you really understand feelings, then you wouldn't be so lonely. Zhu Wu Xian's words made Huang Wuyo's laughter stop abruptly. Huang Wuyo's face, which was filled with hostility, was now filled with a sinister and terrifying emotion. His gaze was sinister and filled with murderous intent. Who says I'm lonely? I was born to be the main god who stands above all the realms. And the path of the strong doesn't allow anyone else. Every single word and sentence was spat out clearly. As though he was saying it to Zhu Wu Xian. Or as though he was saying it to himself. Zhu Wu Xian looked at the raging Huang Wuyo calmly as there wasn't any fluctuation of emotions between his brows. His thin lips moved slightly as he spat out the words, if you're really not lonely, then there wouldn't be Gu Jingyu's appearance, and there wouldn't be Linglong's existence. Huang Wuyo's pupils constricted abruptly. As though his thoughts were seen through, his embarrassment turned into anger as his tail was stepped on as his face surfaced. He flicked his sleeves as a thick black profound yin qi surged towards Zhu Wu Xian's face like a surging wave. What do you know? I kept Gu Jingyu alive because he's useful. As for Linglong, that lass. Huang Wuyo's eyes were sinister and cold as it flashed past. I just want to test if my daughter is real. Only Yi Qing Luo fulfills my requirements. Zhu Wuxian's sleeves fluttered as his blazing red robe seemed to be burning in flames. It also brought with it a chilling coldness. It easily separated Huang Wuyo's black yin energy from his body. Zhu Wuxian's eyes were calm without any fluctuations. I'm not interested in what your motive is. His cold voice was like an emotionless killer. Following that, a sliver of determination surfaced in his pitch-black cold eyes. His thin lips moved. I'm different from you. I don't wish to see her getting hurt. The cold man's words were sincere. It was because the mastermind of the secluded palace was Yi Qing Luo's father. Otherwise, Zhu Wuxian wouldn't have the patience to bother about him. Of course, there was another important point. He had to fight for time for Yi Qing Luo. Since Pavilion Master Chu doesn't appreciate my kind intentions, then don't blame me for disregarding our past cooperation. Huang Wuyo's originally complacent and sinister mood had been easily crushed by Zhu Wuxin, leaving only a belly full of rage. As he waved his palm, the profound yin qi gathered from all directions. The entire underground passage began to shake violently. Zhu Wuxin was just about to wave his sleeves to block Huang Wuyo's attack. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a young girl who was quietly approaching him. His deep eyes dimmed slightly. In the next instant, his power weakened. A burst of profound light shot out and reflected Huang Wuyo's attack. However, the remaining power shook and landed heavily on his chest. The two forces collided with each other in the cave, creating intense electric currents. Zhu Wuxian's body abruptly took a few steps back, swaying unsteadily on his feet. Huang Wuyo was still puzzled. Why did his opponent suddenly retract his strength? Was this some kind of new scheme? Just as he was thinking about this, he saw a peach-red figure reflected into his eyes. Just as Zhu Wuxian was about to fall onto the ground, Yi Qing Luo walked up quickly and supported Zhu Wuxian. She frowned as she looked at Zhu Wuxian. Are you all right? Zhu Wuxian's pitch-black eyes met the young girl's gaze deeply. Chapter 5205. Almost greedily staring at the young lady's devastatingly beautiful face, which was just inches away from him. Perhaps it was because his gaze was too scorching. After the young lady helped him to stand firm, she retracted her hand. Zhu Wuxian's thin lips twitched as the expression on his face was as cold as water. I'm fine. Although that was the case. But when he spoke, his tone was slightly heavy with a slight panting, as though he was suppressing some kind of emotion. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she stared at Zhu Wuxian's grave and stern face, totally unable to see any expression on it. Pausing for a moment. Then her brows creased as she placed her hand on his body once again. Don't force yourself. Feeling the girl's warm and soft hand on his arm, he felt a chill run down his spine. Although it was just a simple touch, Zhu Wuxian's heart seemed to be covered by something soft. His thin lips curled into an arc as he slightly leaned his weight on Yi Qing Luo's body. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased even tighter as she took a glance at the man who was leaning on her, his breathing slightly congealed. Her frown wasn't because Zhu Wuxian was leaning too close. But Zhu Wuxian's injury was obviously not light. If it was usual times, based on Zhu Wuxian's temperament, he would rather forcefully hold on than to let her discover it. Unless he couldn't hold on any longer. Huang Wuyo's earlier strike looked like it wasn't light. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed coldly as she looked at Huang Wuyo, who was surrounded by the profound yin qi and was entangled by the thick black fog. She didn't discover anything. Leaning on her shoulder, that cold and emotionless man's lips curled slightly as he revealed a smile. On one side, he slowly got closer to the young lady. My obedient daughter, so you're hiding here. You've made me look for you. When Huang Wuyo saw Yiqing Luo, his eyes lit up with a faint flame. Under the wrapping of this profound yin qi, like a poisonous snake, it coiled around Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo gazed at Huang Wuyo as she scoffed, "You can't even find anyone in your territory, looks like, as a spiritual consciousness, you're very weak." The young lady's tone was filled with ridicule. The corners of her eyes lifted, revealing a cold and mocking arc. Huang Wuyo's face darkened as he launched an attack with his palm. "My dear daughter, I will let you know the price of angering me." The whirlwind, carrying with it a majestic and thick mysterious yin qi, attacked head-on. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers moved slightly as her fingertips flicked. Bang, bang, bang. A streak of blazing red glow followed the arc of Yiqing Luo's fingertip as it swept past. Wave after wave of explosions resounded throughout the tunnel, like the rumbling of thunder. The tunnel trembled again. Yiqing Luo supported Zhu Wu Xian as they took 2 steps back. She glanced sideways at Zhu Wuxin's cold and pale face and asked in a low voice, "Can you still move?" "I'm fine." Zhu Wuxin shook his head gently, and his tone was very soft. But with that pale face, it didn't look like he was fine. Yiqing Luo took a look at the raging Huang Wuyo and then looked at Zhu Wu Xian. His brain was spinning rapidly, trying to think of a way. Zhu Wu Xian's palm, which was on the young lady's wrist, tightened his grip. He coughed lightly, with a weak posture. "Your plan, has it failed?" "I don't know." Yiqing Luo shook her head, "But now, you're injured, so we can't stay here. We must think of a way to avoid Huang Wuyo." Zhu Wu Xian's thin lips moved, as though he was thinking of something. But finally, he pursed his lips as he slowly got up from leaning on Yiqing Luo. "I'm really fine, don't worry about me." Chapter 5206. Now isn't the time to be stubborn. After all, you got injured because of me, so how can I not care about you? Yiqing Luo held onto Zhu Wu Xian's hand once again. Her tone didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. Her pair of charming eyes looked towards Huang Wuyo's direction vigilantly. Because of that, she didn't notice the man beside her gradually darkening expression because of her words. Not abandoning him meant that in her heart, she still cared about him. But this kind of care was merely based on the fact that he got injured because of her. What he wanted was Yiqing Luo's sincerity. If it was anyone else, would she treat him so coldly? The relationship between the two of you seems to be not bad. Huang Wuyo's voice broke the silence between the both of them once again. His sinister voice was filled with malice. As though he was mocking, yet as though he was scheming something. "Pavilion Master Chu, this obedient daughter of mine has deep feelings for you, isn't it? Earlier my suggestion, why don't you reconsider?" Huang Wuyo laughed softly. "If Pavilion Master Chu agrees to it, I believe I will absolutely not disappoint you." His laughter was sinister and treacherous. It made one's hair stand on end just from hearing it. Zhu Wu Xian's expression turned cold as his eyes turned icy cold, like a sharp blade piercing over. Before he could open his mouth, the young lady had already pressed down on his shoulder lightly. Following that, her clear and cold voice rang, "Huang Wuyo, your move to sow discord is very low level." She tilted her head as her eyes were filled with ridicule towards Huang Wuyo, indeed someone who had been sealed for thousands of years. Until now. Still playing this kind of low-level and senseless tricks. Huang Wuyo said this to Zhu Wu Xian in front of her. Wasn't he trying to provoke her suspicions towards Zhu Wu Xian? Once she started to suspect Zhu Wu Xian, then in this tunnel, she would be alone. By then, it would be much easier to deal with her. As for Zhu Wu Xian, after being suspected by her, he could only choose to agree to Huang Wuyo's deal and collaboration. That's a good plan. However, this also proved one thing, Huang Wuyo seemed to have a little fear towards Zhu Wu Xian. Otherwise, with Huang Wuyo's arrogant and conceited personality, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. How could he play such a trick to sow discord? Was he trying to make her lose Zhu Wuxin? As expected of my daughter. You are indeed smart. Huang Wuyo did not show any embarrassment at being exposed. Instead, he laughed out loud. That sinister laughter inexplicably made people feel uncomfortable all over. His venomous snake-like gaze stared deeply at Yiqing Luo as he grinned maliciously. The two of you have such a strong relationship, this seat naturally wants the both of you to stay by this seat's side. He slowly raised his arms. The color of the surging mysterious yin qi became darker and darker. Immediately after, a violent hurricane was stirred up in all directions. The whistling was so sharp that it seemed like it could engulf a person. In the land of the hurricane, the thick black fog gathered into layers and layers. It formed a large black fog. It gathered above Huang Wuyo's head. Huang Wuyo's arms were raised extremely high as his black robe swayed along with his energy, as his jet black hair danced wildly. His power has become stronger again. Zhu Wu Xian sensed that Huang Wuyo's aura was becoming stronger bit by bit. His expression changed slightly as he clasped the young lady's wrist. Chapter 5207. He should have used the yin-devouring blood technique to inject energy into his body. Zhu Wu Xian pulled her behind him. Leave first, I'll think of a way to stop him. Zhu Wu Xian was about to move when he was stopped by the young lady. Yiqing Luo shook her head at him as her narrow eyes squinted slightly, staring at Huang Wuyo's direction. Don't stop him, let's take this chance to leave first. Huang Wuyo's original body had absorbed all sorts of poisonous medicinal liquid. This piece of soul consciousness which belonged to Huang Wuyo would also be affected. The more Huang Wuyo absorbed, the more the poison invaded. She couldn't stop him. But Yiqing Luo didn't dare to guarantee that her guess was correct. So while Huang Wuyo was still absorbing the energy from the yin-devouring blood technique, she and Zhu Wu Xian took the opportunity to leave Huang Wuyo's line of sight and make a decision based on the situation. The two of them prepared to leave quietly. Huang Wuyo's gaze was sharp as he sneered towards the direction of the two and shot out a burst of profound yin qi, trying to escape. The two words had just left his mouth. Huang Wuyo was suspended in midair as his body, which was absorbing the energy, suddenly fell downwards. A dong sound was heard. His soul consciousness was in human form, so when it fell onto the ground, it gave off a huge sound of a heavy object landing on the ground. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as her pink lips curved slightly. Success. She pulled Zhu Wu Xian to a halt as she turned her head back. She saw Huang Wuyo half kneeling on the ground with his back bent. One hand was pressed on his knee while the other was pressed on the ground. Probably sensing the two's gaze, Huang Wuyo suddenly raised his head as he stared furiously at Yiqing Luo. You, what did you do to me? He bellowed furiously. He was panting heavily and sweating profusely. That body which was formed from his soul consciousness was vaguely distorted in the profound yin qi. It dissipated and gathered again and again. As though something was twisting inside his body. As though it was going to tear his body apart and tear him into pieces. His soul consciousness became fainter and fainter. As though it was going to be annihilated any time. Yiqing Luo sized Huang Wuyo up to confirm if he was pretending on purpose. Then, she nudged Zhu Wuxin. Isn't his aura very messy now? Zhu Wuxin's strength was above hers. His ability to sense Huang Wuyo's aura was also more accurate than hers. Zhu Wuxin closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while. Finally, he nodded slightly. Yes. He paused and looked at Huang Wuyo, but his words were directed at Yiqing Luo. What did you do to him? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked at Huang Wuyo's gradually turning greenish-black lips and that face which was gradually turning greenish-black. Her pink lips curled up slightly. It seems that my guess is correct. It was not in vain that she had poured all the poison in her body into the black and red liquid. Dozens of poisons mixed together. The poison wouldn't kill him. It would also take half of his life. Feng Qing Luo. Huang Wuyo gnashed his teeth in anger. He was shocked and angry at the same time. He struggled to get up. What did you do to me? However, the intense pain in his body caused him to fall heavily onto the ground again. He glowered. His body was behaving in such a strange way. Feng Qing Luo must have done something secretly. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her expression was indifferent. She didn't show any emotion towards Huang Wuyo's flustered and exasperated look. She didn't show any complacency just because Huang Wuyo had fallen for her trick. But the calmer she was. The more furious Huang Wuyo was, the more furious he felt. Yiqing Luo smiled. Don't you know everything? Why do you need to ask me? Chapter 5208. Huang Wuyo's breathing became heavier. The excruciating pain in his body felt like he was being sliced into pieces. Perhaps it was because he was poisoned or because he was too angry, but his complexion was ashen. Finally, he gave Yiqing Luo a cold stare. Then, he punched the ground. The tens of thousands of hurricanes and mysterious yin qi intertwined, wrapping around Huang Wuyo's entire body. Whoosh! He fled into the distance. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose as she held onto Zhu Wuxian's arm. Go, chase after them. Both of them were extremely fast. At this critical juncture, Yiqing Luo didn't hide the fact that she knew the secret of teleportation. Pulling Zhu Wuxian along, he executed the instant movement secret technique and quickly followed behind Huang Wuyo. Zhu Wuxian seemed to have known long ago, or perhaps he did not understand the teleportation secret technique. While he was being pulled by Yiqing Luo, all kinds of teleportation. He did not show the slightest hint of surprise. Yiqing Luo was leaning towards the former. The teleportation secret art was an ancient secret art. To protect the secrets of the Azure Dew Bracelet and the Purgatory Pagoda. She basically wouldn't use it in front of outsiders. Moreover, every time he was discovered using it, he would feel a chill down his spine. It would cause a great backlash from the other party. Given Zhu Wuxian's status and identity, it was impossible for him not to have heard of the teleportation secret technique. He wasn't surprised, probably because he already knew. Of course, that was not the point. Yiqing Luo pulled Zhu Wuxian, turning left and right, jumping up and down. He stared at Huang Wuyo the entire way. Then, the mysterious yin qi that was wrapped around Huang Wuyo suddenly crashed into a huge stone door and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zhu Wuxian stretched out his hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. Don't go over, there's an array. Yiqing Luo had already stopped her blink movement when Huang Wuyo disappeared from the stone door in front. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the stone door in front of her. The dense mysterious yin qi in the air was trying to seep into their bodies bit by bit. However, it was blocked by an invisible ray of profound light. Yiqing Luo was very sensitive to the profound yin qi. It was almost certain. Behind the stone door. That was where Huang Wuyo's main body was. In other words, this is the place. It was where Huang Wuyo was sealed. She hooked her lower lip. When she poisoned him, she had already guessed that this would happen. Once the poison flared up, Huang Wuyo's divine sense would naturally return to his body. As for Huang Wuyo's physical body, it should have been eroded even more by the poison. Hence, he could no longer control his spiritual consciousness. Therefore, his divine sense would be returned to his body. She would use this opportunity to find the location of Huang Wuyo's seal. At this time, Huang Wuyo was being corroded by dozens of poisons. All she had to do was find a way to enter the formation. The chances of sealing Huang Wuyo would be even higher. Of course, how was he supposed to break this formation? How long can his situation last? Zhu Wuxin glanced sideways and asked. Yiqing Luo shook her head, I'm not sure, it depends on how strong Huang Wuyo is. Chu Wuxin slightly lowered his eyes and did not speak again. What's wrong? You're worried that Huang Wuyo's weak period is very short. Yiqing Luo sensed that Zhu Wuxian's emotions weren't quite right as she raised her eyes to look at him. The man's icy cold eyes were surging with emotions, flowing with a complicated glint which Yiqing Luo couldn't understand. Yiqing Luo was just about to open her mouth. Suddenly, the entire tunnel started to shake. A burst of vigorous and powerful energy with a large number of people suddenly closed in. A loud bam was heard. Yiqing Luo felt the ground shaking violently. At the next instant, her waist tightened as she was pulled by Zhu Wuxian. With a leap, she avoided the surging profound rays. Chapter 5209. After Yiqing Luo steadied herself, she immediately stretched out her hand and pushed Zhu Wuxian away, as she looked towards the direction of the attack. In the spacious tunnel, about 20 teams suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell directly onto the leader of the team, Ji Rao. It was a woman, dressed in a long, moon-white dress, with an ethereal air about her. The woman's face was exquisite and could be considered a peerless beauty. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a cold glint and a bit of complacency. There was a feeling of looking down at Yiqing Luo from a higher position. That kind of feeling of being high above. The lady's line of sight fell onto Yiqing Luo and slowly fell onto the red-robed man behind her. Her red lips curled up, revealing a malicious smile. Just as he was about to say something, suddenly, her smile froze, and her expression darkened as she stared at Zhu Wuxin. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Yiqing Luo frowned as she turned her head towards Zhu Wuxian. The man's expression was calm, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. She shifted her gaze to the woman again. He was still thinking about the relationship between Chu Wuxin and Nu Rao. Hearing that woman's ridiculing tone, with a hint of disdain in her laughter, Fengqing Luo, I thought you were really loyal to the Overlord. Taking advantage of the fact that His Majesty isn't here, you're here flirting with other women. She sneered, if the Overlord knew that you were meeting with a man in such a place, would the Overlord still love you so much? The woman's voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. However, it was not difficult to hear the jealousy in her tone. Clear dove, Yiqing Luo's pink lips moved slightly as she called out the woman's name, whether Xian will still pamper me, I don't know. Her smile grew even wider as she met the woman's provocative gaze and said word by word, but I know, that you absolutely cannot enter Xian's eyes. Who else could it be other than Qing Gu? This clear pigeon was the one which Yiqing Luo had snuck into the Palace of Gloom's secret underground chamber from the Jiang family's side when she was in God Realm. There, he met the woman. It seemed like his position in the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was not low. Most importantly, she had ulterior motives for Dmo Xian. A so-called princess who belonged to an unknown force. She remembered, when he was in the Palace of Darkness. She had poisoned the pigeon. Even Qing Ji's secret forces could not cure the poison. How could he be alive and kicking and run all the way here? Sure enough, a scourge lives for 1,000 years. Yiqing Luo sized up those people behind Qing Gu with a gaze that was sizing them up. The newcomers all had an obvious totem on their bodies. They were the people that Qing Gu had brought with her. They were not people from the Palace of Darkness, but people who belonged to her faction. Clear pigeon. How did he get here? What a coincidence. Just as she found the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, he appeared with his men. Yi Qing Luo had a vague guess in her heart. Qing Ji's furious voice rang, Feng Qing Luo, the current you is suffering from both sides. Are you sure you want to anger this princess? When the words, this princess, came out of her mouth, Qing Ji's body suddenly released a strong pressure. That condescending and disdainful stance seemed to have already trampled Yi Qing Luo under his feet. Why are you here? Yi Qing Luo's expression was indifferent, that pair of long and narrow eyes were calm without any fluctuations. Of course, she didn't expect Qing Gu to answer her directly. She only wanted to find out some information from Qing Ji's mouth. Chapter 52:10. Qing Gu gave a gentle smile, but the jealousy in her eyes was unconcealable. The reason why I am here is naturally to follow you. Her tone was complacent, but the way she looked at Yi Qing Luo was filled with hatred. Why do you think I am staying in the secluded palace? Why do you think the overlord is in the secluded palace? No matter what, it's to find the real resting place of the mastermind of the secluded palace. Qing Ji's red lips curled up complacently, as she looked at Yi Qing Luo's gaze, as though she was looking at a stray dog. Look at you, you've painstakingly come to the territory behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness and finally managed to get close to the person behind the scenes. But now, everything belongs to me. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased slightly as she listened to Qing Ji's words. Her heart had an ominous premonition. She had not opened her mouth. Qing Gu had already raised her cold and complacent smile as she interrupted her icily. You want to ask me, what do I want to do after finding the mastermind of the secluded palace, right? Her fingertips gently lifted a strand of hair which was hanging on her shoulder. That exquisite and beautiful face curled into a beautiful smile. But under that smile was a deep, vicious aura which made one shudder. I am from the Illusory clan. Illusory clan? Yi Qing Luo was dumbstruck. This was the first time she heard of this clan. Chu Wuxian's brows drooped slightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo calmly. The Illusory clan was a hidden clan 10,000 years ago, specializing in illusory arts and divination. Divination? Yi Qing Luo's brows twitched. Chu Wuxian continued, and 10,000 years ago. The mastermind of the secluded palace was the revered carefree Huang Wuyo. In an attempt to find out the meaning, to fight with the Tao, to dominate all living things. Hence, revered carefree went to look for the Illusory clan. Indeed. Yi Qing Luo's guess was settled as her brows creased slightly. Chu Wuxian continued, the Illusory clan originally predicted the future and changed their fate, so they had to pay the same price. No one in the Illusory clan could live past 35 years old. Because of this, the Illusion tribe rarely do things like predicting the future and changing fate. When revered carefree sought out the Illusory tribe, naturally, he was rejected by them. When Zhu Wuxian mentioned the history of the Illusion race, Qing Ji's expression darkened. There was no longer any pride or jealousy. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips, her voice was very low, and after the rejection? How could the high and mighty revered carefree allow someone to reject him? Zhu Wuxin's tone was still icy cold, but there was a hint of mockery in it. Yi Qing Luo subconsciously looked towards Zhu Wuxian. However, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on the man's grave and stern face. His face was cold and emotionless. However, human nature is inferior. With an expressionless face, Zhu Wuxian continued, in this world, there are no absolute good people. A portion of the Illusory clan was unwilling to do such an unreasonable thing for revered carefree, but there were also a portion of the Illusory clan who, under the enticement of revered carefree, exposed their own wild ambitions. Regarding the current God Emperor's daughter, is the chosen one, the Phoenix Lady who descended, after such a prophecy appeared. All the tragedies began. Chapter 52:11. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly. This was also her mother's tragedy. Her appearance. It was all because of this prophecy. As for Huang Wuyo, he had plotted so much. Just for this prophecy. Which? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled into a cold arc as the ridicule in her eyes deepened. She should laugh at herself for being such a sacred and noble existence in the prophecy. Or should she laugh at Huang Wuyo? For the so-called prophecy, he sacrificed? But revered Wuyu didn't let the illusory clan off just because he knew about the prophecy. Zhu Wuxian's clear voice was heard again, after those ambitious people from the illusory clan tried their best to help him, just to obtain a way to live forever. Zhu Wuxian paused. Qing Ji's gentle voice continued, in order to protect this prophecy, only he alone knew about it, so he exterminated the illusory clan. This was indeed something that Huang Wuyo would do. The illusory clan lived. This prophecy would be known by others one day. Once the prophecy was known, the Emperor of God would be watched by countless people. How could he possibly tolerate any deviation in his plans? So the best way was kill anyone other than him who knew about this prophecy. Which was to exterminate the illusory clan. Qing Ji's eyes were burning with a raging flame. Her fingers clenched tightly as she looked at Yiqing Luo with hatred and anger. I am from the illusory clan. Our illusory tribe was annihilated because of your father. 10,000 years ago. When Huang Wuyo's clan was exterminated, the princess of the illusory clan had to pay respects to their ancestors and had to guard the grave for 3 months. Along with them were dozens of followers from the illusory clan. And it was this batch of people. They became the last bloodline of the illusory clan. The princess used the illusory clan's ability to find out about this matter. She swore to find Huang Wuyo and seek revenge for the illusory clan. After 10,000 years. The people from the illusory clan now. Only them were left. And most of them were no longer pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Even the current princess of the illusory clan, Qing Gu, was not pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Listening to everything about the illusory clan, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. She lifted her eyelids and looked at Qing Gu. Firstly, that man, although he is my biological father, he is also my enemy. Secondly, although Huang Wuyo played a major role in the extermination of the illusion clan, part of the reason was that the ancestors of the illusion clan made a wrong move due to their obsession with longevity. She paused, her long and narrow eyes slightly raised. From your point of view, you think that it's Huang Wuyo's fault, my mother's fault, and mine. However, from my point of view, everything is the fault of the illusory race. Qing Ji's face turned ashen and her delicate face contorted. Our illusion tribe was annihilated by revered Wuyu. Is this still our fault? Then, because of a prophecy from your illusion tribe, my mother was deceived by Huang Wuyo. In the end, for the sake of the world, she used her life to seal him. Isn't this all because of your illusory tribe? There was no right or wrong in this matter. It just depended on whose point of view one was standing on. Yiqing Luo's counter-question made Qing Ji's mouth move, but she couldn't spit out a single word of rebuttal. Her fists clenched even tighter as each of her fingers started to turn pale. Chapter 52:12. Yiqing Luo didn't pursue this topic any further. This answer was something that she would never be able to get. She pursed her lips and looked at Qing Gu faintly. From the looks of it, our goal is the same. Who has the same goal as you? Qing Ji's expression was cold as her exquisite brows were filled with disgust. I don't intend to let you seal him. What do you mean? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Qing Gu snorted lightly as her fingertips played with her hair. didn't revered Wu Yu want to complete the prophecy from 10,000 years ago and get this so he caused the death of our illusory clan? Her red lips curled sinisterly. If he wants to complete it, then I shall grant him his wish. But Qing Ji's face was distorted from laughter. I want to be above him and become his master. Listening to Qing Ji's words, Yiqing Luo felt that she had been driven crazy. To think that he could not think straight and wanted to dominate Huang Wuyo. Did Huang Wuyo look like that kind of person who could be manipulated by others? Don't think that I am crazy. Qing Gu raised her chin as she gave an unusually strange smile. I am after all the princess of the illusory clan and the one with the highest innate talent. Her vision looked towards the stone cave where Huang Wuyo was sealed. As long as he still has the ambition to break the seal, I will use the illusory clan's illusory arts to control him. Qing Gu said as she looked at Yiqing Luo complacently, get up, for me and my clansmen to be able to come here and gain the absolute advantage, it's all thanks to you. If I am able to succeed, I will definitely thank you properly and strive for. Her voice was low and cold. I'll leave your corpse intact. Looking at Qing Ji's crazed and twisted expression, Yiqing Luo's face didn't show any signs of anger. Her expression was like water as she looked at Qing Gu indifferently. There wasn't much fluctuation of emotions in her long and narrow eyes. Until Qing Ji's complacent and savage laughter stopped. Yiqing Luo's eyelids moved slightly as she glanced sideways at the man in red who had been silent all this while. In her eyes, the man's cold and handsome face was reflected. The contours of the side of his face seemed to be meticulously sculpted. The lines were cold and hard, and they emitted a coldness that made one's breath stop. Yiqing Luo's curly long eyelashes were like butterfly wings gently fanning. As she looked around, he could not see the emotions in her eyes. He only felt that the girl's pink lips were slightly curved, as if she was smiling, but also as if she was mocking him. The girl's gaze was too stubborn. He had no intention of hiding it at all. Being stared at, Chu Wuxin's grave and stern face turned slightly red. He looked up and met the girl's gaze. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the girl's cold voice call out his name, Zhu Wu Xian. The girl's voice was cold and emotionless. But not gambling gave Zhu Wuxin a very heavy pressure. Immediately afterward, the young lady's clear voice continued, you agree with Sister Qing Pigeon's actions, right? Her question was flat and emotionless. It sounded like a casual conversation. But in Zhu Wuxin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder exploding beside his ears. But he was only stunned for a moment. He calmly raised his eyes as his chilly gaze met with hers. When their eyes met, both parties had no intention to avoid each other. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she didn't bother about Zhu Wuxin's act, as she tilted her head slightly and propped her chin up. Chapter 52:13. I seem to have asked a unnecessary question. She laughed softly. For the illusory clan to be able to appear here, it means that we already know the answer. She smiled as her gaze was fixed on Zhu Wu Xian. Since you agree with Sister Qing Ji's way of doing things, then I have nothing else to say. Zhu Wu Xian's face was facing Yiqing Luo. That pair of emotionless icy cold black eyes were surging with a silent wave. Yiqing Luo had no intention to bother about him. She didn't have any intention to ask any further. Instead, she used her actions to express her stand. She slowly moved her feet away from Zhu Wu Xian's side. She stood in between Zhu Wu Xian and Qing Gu as she looked left and right. Then her lips curled as her smile was calm. My motive is to completely seal Huang Wuyu here, or kill him. There was not the slightest fluctuation in her words. As though she was talking about something extremely normal. Since our motives are different, then it's obvious that we are enemies. The young lady's gaze was as calm as water as it met with Zhu Wu Xian. Indeed, between us, we are ultimately enemies. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's tone was slightly anxious as he called out her name. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she raised her hand to stop Zhu Wuxian's words. I understand and I don't feel that you've made the wrong choice. She took a look at Zhu Wuxian and then at Qing Gu. After all, you're also from the illusory clan. Zhu Wuxian's eyelashes fluttered as his thin lips moved. In the end, he didn't reject her. But Qing Ji's complacent smile froze as she took a swift glance at Zhu Wuxian and immediately frowned. Since when is he from the illusory clan? What's with your beard coat? Isn't it? Yiqing Luo's smile became even wider as her long and narrow eyes were frivolous as she looked at Zhu Wuxian. Are you? Zhu Wuxian's pupils contracted as the surging emotions in his eyes were about to spew out. Finally, his thin lips moved as he spat out a word, yes. Yiqing Luo smiled. But that smile was filled with ridicule. Young matriarch. Seeing that Zhu Wuxian had actually admitted his identity, Qing Pigeon anxiously cried out. Hearing Qing Ji's greeting, Yiqing Luo's smile deepened. It seemed that Zhu Wuxian's status in the illusion race was not low. For the princess of the illusion clan to call him young master, Zhu Wuxian lifted his eyelids and looked coldly at Qing Gu. That gaze sent a chill down Qing Ji's spine. She swallowed the words she was about to say. Zhu Wuxian's eyes calmly shifted onto Yiqing Luo. When his eyes met with Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes, his gaze was slightly evasive. But in the end, he still met Yiqing Luo's gaze firmly. He pursed his thin lips and said in a cold voice, I didn't want to hide it from you. Indeed. Yiqing Luo smiled. When you took the initiative to talk about the Mirage clan's past, it was already indirectly telling me your identity. 10,000 years ago, the illusion clan was a hidden family. What was a hidden family? That was a clan that was hidden from the world, a clan that only existed in rumors or no rumors at all. There were details about how Huang Wuyo had sought out the illusion tribe for a divination and how he had given a prophecy. Other than the people of the illusion race, how could anyone else know? Zhu Wuxian took the initiative to mention about the history of the illusion clan. He was totally telling her that he was someone from the illusion clan. Yiqing Luo linked everything together. He could roughly guess what was going on. Chapter 52:14. Zhu Wuxian looked at the mocking smile on the young girl's face. His cold and stern face became somewhat gloomy. He seemed to be hesitating about something. In the end, he wanted to say something but stopped. Out of the thousands of words he wanted to say, he could only say one sentence. It was a very light and somewhat untenable refutation. I'm worried about you, it's true. Yiqing Luo nodded emotionlessly, I know. She didn't deny that Zhu Wuxian was worried about her. She also didn't deny that Zhu Wuxian didn't want her to be cared for. And absolutely believed it. Even if it wasn't because of the illusory clan. When Zhu Wuxian saw her in danger, he would follow her without any hesitation, stepping into this dangerous place. But there was a motive after all. These so-called concern and worry. They were no longer that pure. Perhaps, this was the difference between Zhu Wuxian and Dmo Xian. The former had too many things on him. No matter what he did, any decision he made, there would definitely be a motive behind it. No matter what the original intention was, no matter if he had calculated or prepared for this decision. That was ultimately not pure. The latter was wholeheartedly, only for her. Even for her, he would not hesitate to destroy the world. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids, avoiding Zhu Wuxian's surging black pupils. Now, let's rely on our own abilities. What else was Zhu Wuxian thinking about? Qing Gu couldn't hold it in any longer. Young lord, don't forget about the blood feud between our illusory clan and revered Carefree. Don't forget about the country's hatred and family feud because of a woman. She clenched her fists tightly, as her eyes were filled with malevolent jealousy. Based on what? Based on what Feng Qing Luo, that woman, could have the Overlord's boundless love, and young Lord's love? Based on what, all the men revolved around her? Even if she was the descendant of the previous divine emperor, the new divine phoenix. Based on the Overlord and young Lord's status. It was impossible for them to pay attention to these. Qing Gu was jealous and twisted, as her eyes were filled with a thick black mist. Shut up. A cold and indifferent voice interrupted Qing Ji's rage and hatred. She suddenly met Zhu Wu Xian's eyes. She shuddered when she was stared at by those deep, dark, and frosty eyes. Zhu Wuxin said indifferently, "This young lord's matters are not for you to criticize. It's... Qing Gu has crossed the line." Qing Ji's face paled as she knelt down. The dignity of a princess just now had vanished in an instant. Yi Qing Luo was a little curious. Logically speaking, the princess of the Illusion clan should be the person with the highest status in the Illusion clan. Young Master Zhu Wuxin, what was going on? After Zhu Wu Xian warned the pigeon, he looked towards Yi Qing Luo. His cold and stern face softened a little. His deep black pupils which were fixated on Yi Qing Luo were also tainted with a peculiar glint. "I said, I won't do anything to hurt you. I also won't share your burden." His voice was a little soft, so soft that only the two of them could hear him. His fingers curled up slightly, as his fiery red robe floated with the wind, "But, I must take revenge for the Illusion clan. I understand you very well." Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. Her emotions were indifferent, unable to tell whether she was happy or angry. She said very calmly, "This is just like how my mother used her life to seal Huang Wuyo, and used her life in exchange for mine. To avenge my mother's death, I wonder how Huang Wuyo will deal with me once the seal on Huang Wuyo is released." Chapter 52:15. Even if it's to fulfill my mother's dying wish, I will absolutely not allow any of you to undo Huang Wuyo's seal. As she said that, that pair of narrow eyes flashed past a resolute and sharp cold glint. "So, you want to undo Huang Wuyo's seal?" She kept her smile as her fingertips moved slightly and an enchanting red glow emerged from the glower flame fan. She placed the glower flame fan horizontally in front of her as she said word by word, "Then, you have to get past me first." Zhu Wu Xian's body trembled slightly. His black eyes, which were like surging waves, looked deeply at the young girl. His thin lips moved slightly. "You really want to force me to make a choice?" If one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the trembling in his voice. Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't have much change. As compared to Zhu Wu Xian's inner conflict, Yi Qing Luo appeared very calm. "I'm not forcing you to make a choice. But right from the start, our fate has already been decided." Yi Qing Luo replied calmly, "The feud between the country and family is more important than feelings." Zhu Wu Xian went silent. After some time, he scoffed as his thin lips curled into a ridiculing arc, "You're really considerate." Zhu Wu Xian couldn't tell what he was feeling. Yi Qing Luo's words were standing on his side, trying her best to soothe the uneasiness in his heart. Just hope. Was he going to be enemies with her? Just hope. The both of them would never be able to stand on the same parallel line. Their fate. Were they really destined to be enemies? Zhu Wu Xian stared deeply at the young lady's gorgeous face as his 5 fingers by his side clenched into a fist. She didn't open her mouth to interrupt Zhu Wu Xian's deep thoughts. Zhu Wu Xian was carrying too much on his shoulders. On one side was his stubborn feelings. On the other side was his clan's hatred. No matter how unwilling she was to admit it. Huang Wuyo was her father, that was a fact. To Zhu Wu Xian, she was considered as the daughter of his enemy. It wasn't that she wanted to make any decision for Zhu Wu Xian. It wasn't that she wanted to force Zhu Wu Xian to make a choice. But even if Zhu Wu Xian's stubborn feelings towards her had surpassed the feud between the country and family. But Yiqing Luo was certain. Every day, he would live in remorse and self-blame for the Illusion clan. One day, he would blame her. Moreover, she could not respond to Zhu Wu Xian's feelings. It was better to make a choice at this moment. Feelings were secondary. The most important thing was to bear the responsibility that he truly shouldered. Pushing Zhu Wu Xian to become her enemy could perhaps be said to be extremely stupid. He was looking for trouble for himself. But, in her heart, Zhu Wu Xian could be considered a friend that she acknowledged. If not for the joke of fate between them, if not for Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her, perhaps they could also become close friends. However, there was no maybe in everything. Young master. Qing Ji's anxious voice broke the tension between the two of them. We need to break this formation as soon as possible and cast the illusion curse on revered Carefree. After being warned by Zhu Wuxin just now, Qing Gu spoke very carefully. Young master, don't forget why we're here. This is our illusory tribe's only chance. He had missed this one. The illusory tribe's blood feud could no longer be appeased. Zhu Wu Xian clenched his fists tightly as the muscles on his body tensed up. Young master, I absolutely cannot watch you regret in the future. A cold and hard voice rang from the illusory tribe's group. Chapter 52:16. Following that, she saw that man dressed in a black robe, embroidered with a huge illusory clan totem, charging towards Yiqing Luo. That person had a lot of momentum. The long sword swept past with a biting cold killing intent. Even if young master reprimands this subordinate will still do the same. That voice carried a taut, austere, and firm determination. In front of Yiqing Luo, a sharp silver light flashed past. She dodged to one side. The devouring flame fan on his fingertip quickly spread out, shooting out a ray of profound light. The black light was like a phantom, blocking the man's attack. She quickly leaped into the air and steadied herself. The man's sword pressed down again. All of this happened in an instant. Phantom 3. Zhu Wuxin's expression froze. His eyes were filled with frost as he spat out two words coldly. That person who rushed towards Yiqing Luo and crossed hands with her. It was the secret chamber which Yiqing Luo had previously stayed in, which was also the secret base of the secluded palace in the God realm. He had seen him before, the man called Huan 3. They were Qing Ji's people from the illusion race. Young master, Huan-san is right. He's just trying to wake you up. Another woman rushed forward and blocked Zhu Wu Xian's path. Young master, if you can't bear to do it, then let Huan 3 do it. Think about our illusion clan. Think about how we were massacred 10,000 years ago. Yiqing Luo remembered that the lady was called Huan Luo, Qing Ji's personal maid. At this moment, Huan Luo had a fearless expression on his face. Today is the illusion tribe's only chance for revenge. I hope young master can reconsider. Get lost. Zhu Wu Xian's eyes were dark and ruthless. His usually cold and emotionless face was now filled with killing intent. He seemed to be resisting the urge to snap Huan Luo's neck. Huan Luo took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in her heart. She stubbornly refused to give way. In this short period of time. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. The heavy object landed on the stone wall, and the sound of it landing on the ground made the two of them look in the direction of the sound. Gravel flew everywhere. The black-clothed man was lying on the ground. His originally cold and unyielding aura also weakened a lot. He lay on the ground and moved his hands. However, his entire body was in pain and he couldn't move at all. Phantom 3. Huan Luo cried out in alarm. Her tone was filled with disbelief. When he heard someone being flung away. Huan Luo had thought that Feng Qing Luo, who had seduced their young master's soul, had been subdued by Huan San. But he never thought that, the person who would be sent flying would be Huan III. Moreover, Huan III's injuries weren't light. She immediately turned around and flew towards Huan III. Zhu Wuxin saw clearly that it was Huan III. She couldn't tell if she was relieved or if she felt her heart tighten. His face, which was as cold as cast, did not show the slightest emotion. A man who was never good at expressing his emotions. At this moment, the tumbling thoughts in his heart had already made his mind a mess, and he had no energy to think. His cold black eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He watched as the girl's skirt fluttered in the air like a peach blossom. They watched as the girl slowly closed the glowing flame fan and stood at the entrance of the cave, looking at them expressionlessly. There was not a hint of reluctance in her long and narrow eyes. That woman was really heartless. Zhu Wu Xian slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. The flame robe fluttered as he walked. He walked step by step until he was right in front of Yiqing Luo. The group of people from the Illusion clan looked at Zhu Wu Xian anxiously. They totally couldn't guess what their young master wanted to do. Chapter 52:17. Yiqing Luo looked at Zhu Wu Xian expressionlessly as he walked towards her. After that, she watched him standing in front of her. Her pink lips rose. Young Patriarch Zhu, are you going to take action personally? Yiqing Luo, I really don't want to become like this with you. His voice was filled with sorrow. Yiqing Luo smiled, our fate is like this. You have your responsibilities and I have mine. She said it in an open-minded manner. As though she had long expected this ending. Zhu Wu Xian's gaze stared deeply at her as he slowly shook his head, no. If it was Dmo Xian, you definitely wouldn't be so calm. If it was Dmo Xian. How could Yiqing Luo possibly stand on the opposite side of Dmo Xian? If it was Dmo Xian. How could Yiqing Luo possibly have such an indifferent attitude? After Chu Wuxin said these words, Chu Wuxin's eyes widened. That calm and indifferent young lady's eyes rippled slightly. The smile on her lips vanished as she met Zhu Wu Xian's gaze. Her look made Zhu Wu Xian lower his eyes as he burst out laughing, indeed so. Yes. His words had just opened his mouth. On that side, a young lady's clear voice was heard. Yiqing Luo met Zhu Wu Xian's gaze and had no intention to avoid it. If it was Xian, standing in your position, I indeed cannot do it. To let him choose national hatred and family enmity. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she smiled calmly, call me selfish or heartless, to me. He is mine, so he should be with me. Of course, she could not possibly force Dmo Xian to give up the responsibility he was carrying for her. She would try her best to think of a compromise. When Zhu Wu Xian heard that, a disappointed look flashed past his eyes. His thin lips twitched in self-ridicule. He obviously knew the outcome long ago, but he had to hear it from Yiqing Luo's own mouth. But so what if he heard it from her own mouth? He still wasn't able to give up. Zhu Wu Xian. The young lady opposite him had a clear voice and her tone was very indifferent. Calling his name, there wasn't much fluctuation in her emotions. You are you, Xian is Xian. You don't have to compare yourself with Xian. She continued, although it's cruel, I still want to tell you that you and Xian mean different things to me, so there's nothing to compare. He is the man I love, the future husband I have decided on. So, no matter what, I will not stand on the opposite side of Xian. Zhu Wuxin laughed again. He had always been indifferent, but this laugh was so deep that it made people's hair stand on end. You're really cruel. His voice was low and hoarse, full of ridicule and chilliness. telling me about your feelings for Dmo Xian in front of me, do you think I don't have any feelings and don't know how to be jealous? Not really. Yi Qing Luo's tone was distant. I'm just stating the facts, of course. I also want you to dispel your obsession with me. Zhu Wuxin raised his eyebrows slightly, and the flames on his robe fluttered. A gust of warm wind headed towards Yi Qing Luo's face. He wasn't aggressive at all. But when that warm wind approached Yi Qing Luo's face, it was merely a finger's distance away. Suddenly, it collided with a beam of red light. Two beams of profound light, after they collided in mid-air, rippled a shallow profound wave. It also blocked off Zhu Wuxin's warm wind. Zhu Wuxin fixed his eyes on Yi Qing Luo, who didn't move at all, as he suddenly laughed. Looks like, you indeed have your guard up against me. Chapter 52:18. After all, I've been tricked a few times, how could I possibly not learn? Yi Qing Luo gave a fake smile as her pink lips twitched, as she looked expressionlessly in front of her. The visible warm wind profound wave dissipated in the air. Faintly, she could smell a faint medicinal fragrance in the air. The same trick, young Patriarch Chu has played it a little too many times. She smiled. Don't tell me young Patriarch Chu thinks that after you've grasped my trust towards you, you can do whatever you want? Zhu Wu Xian remained silent, not saying a single word. Looking at the young lady's sweet smile, but her eyes and brows were filled with a tinge of coldness. Especially that pair of slightly curved eyes, there wasn't a single bit of emotion. As though she was looking at a stranger. That kind of alienation. That kind of coldness. He was very clear that his earlier actions had already angered Yi Qing Luo. But, if he could do it again, he would still do it. If to make Yi Qing Luo lose consciousness temporarily, he would make use of this opportunity to settle the clan extermination feud with Huang Wuyo 10,000 years ago. By then, it wouldn't be too late for him to help Yi Qing Luo and Feng Ge take revenge. That was what he thought, and so he did it. But he had not expected that the current Yi Qing Luo was already on guard against him. The medicine had yet to reach Yi Qing Luo. It had already been isolated by Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wu Xian remained silent for a long time, as he slowly opened his mouth. He called out Yi Qing Luo's name. That pair of cold black eyes were burning, as he looked at the young lady without blinking. Actually, we don't need to do this. His voice was very calm. In the end, what we're asking for is merely revered worryless life. After our plan is completed, we'll kill revered worryless, to fulfill your wish. Isn't that great? No matter what, Huang Wuyo was going to die. This was merely a matter of time. Why did the both of them have to stand on opposing sides? Young Patriarch Chu's idea is good, but Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curved, her gaze was calm, as her words were sharp. On what basis does young Patriarch Chu think that I will agree to let you help me take revenge? She sneered, as her tone was filled with ridicule. Moreover, whether your illusory clan's plan can be completed, is really uncertain. After all, he is revered carefree. After you guys undid Huang Wuyo's seal, you were annihilated by Huang Wuyo. Aren't you just looking for trouble for me? The girl's words were simply an open and frank statement of fact. Zhu Wuxin clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, just because you said that I am your friend. So, young Master Chu, do you think that friends should unconditionally accommodate you? Yi Qing Luo laughed. The enmity of exterminating your clan is an enmity, but the enmity of him ruining my mother's life and ruining my entire life, isn't it an enmity? Yi Qing Luo smiled as the expression on her face turned silent and solemn. Most importantly, my mother's last wish was to seal Huang Wuyo. Zhu Wuxin fell silent again. He wanted to refute, but on seeing Yi Qing Luo's cold and indifferent eyes, he couldn't even spit out half a word. A long, long time passed. He gave a low chuckle. You're so heartless, but unfortunately, I'm still unable to bear any resentment towards you. His eyes were slightly cold, as his low and slow voice seemed even more oppressive in the midst of suppression. There was a tinge of bitterness, as it seeped into his heart. Then, as you wish. As you wish, these 4 words were said. Zhu Wuxian's surroundings suddenly swept up 10,000 layers of hurricanes. Chapter 52:19. Like a hot knife through butter, the terrifying burst of profound rays instantly drowned Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo could feel it. He didn't show any mercy. The profound chi waves stirred in the air were like a raging tide, forming wave after wave of huge waves. Yiqing Luo raised her glower flame fan and swiftly entered the battle to retaliate. Just as she wished. Just as she wished. For the sake of family feud, he stood on the opposite side of her. Yiqing Luo wanted to. This wasn't what she wished for. It was fate. Both parties had their own responsibilities. After all, they had to fight in order to achieve their goals. But Yiqing Luo didn't intend to explain any further to Zhu Wuxian. The two of them exchanged blows swiftly, causing the entire tunnel to be filled with deafening explosions. Gravel flew everywhere as dust billowed. After Qing Gu checked that Huan San only had external injuries and it wasn't life-threatening, she handed him over to the Illusion Clan's people to watch over. She raised her eyes and her sinister beautiful eyes stared intently at that pink figure in the midst of the exchange. Her beautiful face flickered with a cold light of jealousy. Qing Ji's slender fingers clenched into fists as her heart was filled with resentment. That slut, she actually pretended to be elegant and refined in front of young lord. What thinking for young lord, asking young lord to pay attention to family feud? Ha! How could young lord forget about the blood feud of the Illusion Clan's extermination? How could he possibly give up? Did she really think that by retreating, young lord would really feel sorry for her and give up on the blood feud? What a joke! Look, wasn't young lord going to kill her now? Probably. Fengqing Luo was about to die of regret. She probably didn't expect young lord to really take action. She really hoped that young lord would kill her. He wanted her to disappear from this world forever and ever. Do you want Fengqing Luo to disappear? Suddenly, a gloomy and treacherous voice entered his ears. Who? Qing Ji's expression congealed as she looked around alertly. But other than the Illusion Clan's people, there was no one else. Huan Luo saw Qing Gu looking around and hurriedly asked, Princess, what's the matter? Didn't you hear? Qing Gu frowned and was about to ask. But when he saw Huan Luo's worried expression, he didn't have any other strange expressions. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Could it be that she was the only one who heard that voice just now? Do you want to kill Fengqing Luo with your own hands? That voice rang once again. This time, it replayed clearly in her mind. Qing Ying looked at Huan Luo. When she heard this voice, Huan Luo's expression didn't change. She was still looking at her worriedly. The clear pigeon would be able to confirm. No one but she could hear the voice. She lowered her eyes and hid her thoughts. She shook her head at Huan Luo. I'm fine. I'm just a little worried about the young master. Huan Luo said, young master's strength is definitely above Sister Feng. Young master can definitely subdue Sister Feng. Unless, young master couldn't bear to do it. Of course, Huan Luo did not dare to say this in front of Qing Gu. They had followed the young master for many years. He was very clear about young lord's feelings towards Fengqing Luo. So even now, they didn't choose to surround Fengqing Luo. This was not only because he was confident in the young master's strength. Mainly, if they made a move. No matter what the ending was, young lord would definitely blame it on them. Young lord's wrath was something they couldn't afford. Qing Gu casually replied with a few sentences. She then looked at the battle arena and fell silent. Chapter 52:20. It looked as though she was worried about Zhu Wu Xian. But in fact, she was secretly responding to that voice in her heart. Who are you? What do you mean by this? That voice could indeed hear what she was thinking. Very quickly, it gave a reply. The dignified princess of the Illusion clan, after 10,000 years, you should be leading the Illusion clan to build a new home and become the supreme Empress. That sinister voice was hoarse and ear-piercing. But when it fell into Qing Ji's ears, it carried an inexplicable bewitchment. Her heart skipped a few beats. Do you know why you can't defeat Feng Qing Luo? That voice, just as it stirred up her inner emotions, it suddenly poured a bucket of cold water on her. Qing Ji's gaze suddenly turned cold. That voice continued, because her status is noble, she has the bloodline of the divine phoenix, the most noble woman in the god realm. Because she is the chosen phoenix lady, the chosen one. If no one stops her, she can even step on all the worlds under her control, she will be the only one. As the voice spoke, every sentence fell. The expression on Qing Ji's face became sinister and terrifying again. That tightly clenched fist, the slender fingernails, embedded into the flesh of her palm, but she didn't feel it at all. And you obviously have the noble bloodline of the Illusion clan's princess, so enviable, making people offer treasures with both hands, kneel down to beg for your power. But you ended up in such a miserable state. You are the Illusion clan's last direct bloodline Illusion clan princess. Obviously, you can also stand above thousands of people, stepping on countless of heads, watching those people fight for you, until their heads bleed. That voice was low and hoarse, stirring up people's hearts. Every word, every sentence, was like a needle, piercing into the deepest part of Qing Ji's heart. It was as if he had dug out all of her wounds, dripping with blood. The darkest thoughts in her heart. There was nowhere to hide. That voice, if Feng Qing Luo disappeared from this world? If Qing Ji's heart, bit by bit, sped up. Her slender white hands, clenched again, her breathing was a little rushed because of nervousness or excitement. That pair of beautiful eyes, gradually became gloomy and ruthless. If Feng Qing Luo disappeared, then, the so-called Phoenix Maiden candidate would no longer exist. Feng Qing Luo had no way to flaunt her prowess in front of her. So there was no way to seduce his majesty and young master. And she will, because of your identity as the princess of the Illusion race, you will become the target that countless profound practitioners will try to recruit. You will be the queen of the illusory tribe and rule the world. The voice laughed sinisterly. His smile was sinister and bewitching. Qing Ji's fingers gripped her sleeves tightly. You are revered carefree? She asked tentatively. However, he received a definite answer from the other party, yes. What is your purpose? After Qing Gu got the answer, her first reaction was not to be alarmed, but her heart was beating even faster. Because she knew and understood. Just how strong was this revered carefree from 10,000 years ago? If he could make Feng Qing Luo disappear from this world. So what if he cooperated with the devil? Anyway, she had a way to deal with Huang Wuyo. TSK. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly. That laughter made one's hair stand. This seat and you. Make a deal. Chapter 52:21. The light in Qing Ji's eyes grew brighter. His heart was pounding. However, there was not the slightest hint of vigilance or danger. All he felt was the excitement and thrill of making a deal with a devil. Feng Qing Luo is your daughter, are you willing to let this princess kill her? Although Qinggu was agitated, but her intelligence was still there. Huang Wuyo laughed mockingly. The meaning of her existence is that she is nothing more than a tool that I can use. She can be discarded at any time. TSK. She's so pitiful. Although Qing Pigeon said so, her tone was full of schadenfreude. Look, so what if that bitch is the Phoenix Maiden? Wasn't it because someone didn't like her? Wasn't it because he couldn't get everyone's love? Qing Ji's eyes were filled with excitement and malice. She grinned and said, "Can you really let me kill her with my own hands?" "I can guarantee that," Huang Wuyo replied with a chuckle. Qing Ji's jade-like fingers clenched tightly. Her face twisted into a hideous smile, making her look like a rakshasa. "What do you need my help with?" Huang Wuyo let out a sinister laugh. The soft and ethereal laughter that lingered in one's ears like a devil's voice shook Qing Ji's heart. "Don't be nervous. I just hope that you can help me with something." Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian's exchange of blows had already caused the entire underground tunnel to shake till it was as though the God Emperor's tomb was about to collapse. But under the violent shaking, the ground shook again and again. The top was still as solid as a rock. As for the ground, other than a few pieces of gravel flying up, there were no cracks at all. This place, it was really sturdy. Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian exchanged blows once again, and after both parties retreated, her long and narrow eyes squinted coldly without blinking. The profound waves colliding in the air gently rippled, forming layers upon layers of ripples. After the collision, there was a loud bang in the private room. Yiqing Luo stood close to the wall, her fingertips lightly touching the stone wall behind her, looking at the scattered gravel. Chu Wuxin didn't really want to kill her at all. He didn't want to fight to the death with her. His attacks seemed ruthless. Every move was swift and fierce. However, there was not the slightest hint of killing intent. The fight went on like this. He was afraid that even if he exhausted all of his energy, he might not be able to determine the victor. Most importantly, this was Huang Wuyo's territory. Once her or Zhu Wuxian's strength was exhausted due to their mutual attacks, when they finally had no combat strength left, what if Huang Wuyo suddenly appeared and caused trouble? After all, they weren't the only ones in the tunnel. There was also an unknown number of undead puppets. Behind Zhu Wuxin, there was a group of people from the illusion race who could protect her. What about her? Because of the grudge between her and Qinggu. It was already good enough that Qinggu did not take the opportunity to stab her. Perhaps, Zhu Wuxin's plan was to exhaust her strength and take the opportunity to trap her. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, like ripples of ice, a wisp of dim light flashed past. She abruptly raised the glowing flame fan in her hand. Her pink lips moved slightly as she coldly spat out, "Zhu Wuxin, I don't have the time to waste with you." His fingertips flicked. The wind blades from the glowing flame fan surged like a tide, like a lady scattering flowers, spreading out in all directions. Her pink lips carried a hint of ridicule. "I'm not sure how long Huang Wuyo's current state can last. Are you sure you want to have a fearless struggle with me here?" Chapter 52-22. The current situation. Firstly, Huang Wuyo had consumed some poisonous energy, which was why he had become so weak. But in order to enter the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, she had set up an ancient forbidden array. She and Zhu Wuxian were wasting time here. If they found a way to resolve the poison in Huang Wuyo's body, it wouldn't be so easy to poison him the next time. Furthermore, that ancient forbidden array sounded so complicated from the name. If it was solved, it would be even more complicated. There was no need to waste time here. Since you know this, why don't you listen to my arrangements obediently? Zhu Wuxian didn't launch another attack but stood not too far away from Yiqing Luo as he looked at her deeply. That pair of deep cold eyes was filled with tranquil darkness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as her slender fingers which were holding the glower flame fan moved casually. She caught a glimpse of Zhu Wuxian's gaze and swiftly shifted to the direction of her fingertips. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly, "This is your wishful thinking, it's not within the scope of my plan, so why should I listen to your arrangements?" She paused as her gaze fell onto her own fingers as she smiled sweetly. "Moreover, between the both of us, we have a huge amount of suspicion and distrust towards each other, so why must we force ourselves to stand on the same line?" Zhu Wuxian's eyes congealed slightly. He and Yiqing Luo were in a battle. The glower flame fan was Yiqing Luo's main weapon. The minute she moved the glower flame fan, his body's conditioned reflex had already made the most intuitive judgment. He looked at Yiqing Luo's hand alertly, in case she suddenly made a move. This was normal. But he had no way to refute Yiqing Luo's words. It was indeed so. There was no real trust between him and Yiqing Luo. He would instinctively be on guard against her. Just like her suspicions towards him, she had long been on guard against him. These two people. If they really stood on the same line, they would probably be even more exhausted physically and mentally. But unfortunately, even so, he still wanted to keep Yiqing Luo by his side, to let her belong to him alone forever. "Zhu Wuxian, you're lenient towards me, but it doesn't mean that I will be merciful." Suddenly, the girl's clear and melodious voice sounded, as cold as water. Immediately after, the girl who was originally carelessly caressing the gourd flame fan, suddenly made a move. Swish swish swish, a hurricane swept through the tunnel. It was surging with blazing flames. The raging waves slapped against the surrounding air like waves splashing in the sea. In that long and deep tunnel, the originally bright and clear environment, as the young girl's profound light surged, a faint and indistinct figure actually appeared in a flash. Vaguely, under the flickering glazed light, one could see the slender and graceful figure of a young girl dressed in pink moving quickly under the flickering flowing light. Her dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming peach blossom. Bang! A soft explosion resounded in Zhu Wuxian's ears. He was just about to move. As she breathed, a familiar fragrance entered her nostrils. His body suddenly stiffened. The black-haired girl in peach-colored clothes stepped on a flickering light as she closed in. It was during this moment of stupor. Zhu Wuxian's nose seemed to smell a refreshing medicinal fragrance. His pupils contracted as he speedily held his breath. But at this moment, his mind suddenly went blank. His body suddenly went limp. He frowned as he raised his eyes to look at the young girl. Both his arms were clamped by the young girl. That icy cold gourd flame fan's tail drew a dagger as it stuck close to his neck. Chapter 52-23. Zhu Wuxian frowned slightly. Even though he was not very conscious, he could still clearly feel the coldness of the dagger on his neck as it pressed against his skin. All the girl had to do was use a little more strength. That dagger would definitely pierce through his skin. Beside his ear, the young girl's clear and sweet voice carried a hint of laughter. "Young Master Chu, how does this feeling feel?" Zhu Wuxian's eyelashes trembled slightly. The young girl's smile deepened. Young Master Chu should understand the principle of not doing to others what they don't want done to them, right? He had used the same method on her over and over again. Now, she was using the same method on him. She wanted him to have a good taste of being trampled on. Zhu Wuxian had made use of her trust several times to achieve his goals. Yiqing Luo still had some opinions in her heart and she couldn't act as though nothing had happened. The lines on Zhu Wuxian's cold and hard face were as cold as before. There was no change in his expression at all. That pair of slightly hazy but still cold eyes met the young girl's gaze without blinking. His eyes were calm, and his emotions could not be seen. "Young Master. Fengqing Luo, let go of young Master. What do you want to do? If you dare to touch a hair on the young master's head, the Illusion clan will use all of our power to make you pay the price. Zhu Wuxin said nothing. On the other hand, the people of the Illusion tribe shouted impatiently. One by one, they stared at Yiqing Luo nervously. He was afraid that Yiqing Luo's hand would tremble and hurt Zhu Wu Xian. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly, her smile was like a flower, pure and beautiful. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with a sharp coldness. Right now, your young master is in my hands. If you want your young master to live, you'd better obediently open the restrictive formation that Huang Wuyo set up here. In order to completely break Huang Wuyo's seal, he had to first destroy the array that Huang Wuyo had set up. While Huang Wuyo was being corroded by the poison, Lin Fan took the opportunity. It was the best opportunity to break through the formation. The people of the Illusion race were so confident that they could come here. There must be a way to break the formation. When the people from the Illusory clan heard Yiqing Luo's conditions, their expressions changed drastically. Opening up the restriction array, wouldn't that be allowing Feng Qing Luo to rush in and seal revered Worryless completely? How could they possibly break the forbidden spell in front of Yiqing Luo? But, the young master couldn't ignore it. The people of the Illusion clan were full of hesitation and confusion. Huan Luo looked at Zhu Wuxin, who was being restrained. Her sharp blade flickered with a cold silver light. It was as if it was going to cut Zhu Wuxin's neck in the next instant. She gritted her teeth. Feng Qing Luo, quickly let go of young master. Are you really worthy of young master's feelings for you by treating him like this? Yiqing Luo's chilly gaze casually shot towards Huan Luo. Facing Huan Luo's angry and unresigned gaze, Yiqing Luo appeared much calmer and colder. I'm merely giving you a taste of your own medicine. Since you asked me that, I would also like to ask you a question in return. Your young master claims to have deep feelings for me, but why did he use my trust time and time again? Is this worthy of his feelings for me? Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her brows were filled with ridicule. Huan Luo's face flushed red from the rebuttal as she clenched her teeth and clenched her fists as she stared at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo laughed again. Since you're worried about your young master, then obediently destroy the array. Saying that, a crafty cold arc flashed past her eyes as her tone was filled with ridicule as she teased mischievously, you're doing this. Are you worthy of your young master? Chapter 52-24. Huan Luo was once again rendered speechless. The Illusion clansmen looked at the young lady's arrogant attitude and immediately turned to look at their other pillar, Illusion clan's princess, Qing Gu. Princess, quickly think of a way, that slut really wants to kill young master. Princess, are we really going to listen to her? And undo the curse? No. We must not undo it. Once the curse is undone, that slut will be one step ahead of us. How are we going to settle the blood feud between us? Once she said that, the Illusion clansmen were even more furious and agitated. But Qing Gu kept her head lowered and didn't say a word. Her messy hair covered the expression on her face and concealed all of her aura. She didn't make any movements at all. Even if she was impatient. Young master was still being restrained by Feng Qing Luo. Although they didn't have much contact with Feng Qing Luo, but they knew that the other party was definitely not a patient person. If they didn't give an answer after a long time, causing Feng Qing Luo to be anxious and directly kill their young master. Thinking of this, how could the Illusion clansmen maintain their composure? Princess, are you going to stay here and watch young master being killed by that slut? Someone's tone was slightly heavy. Young Master Chu's life was in danger. As the Illusion clan's princess, how could she not show any expression? But the young lady who had her head lowered still didn't raise her eyes. He didn't even move an inch. That person was the elder of the Illusion clan and had a stubborn and urgent hope to take revenge for the family feud and revitalize the Illusion clan. Right now, it was the most crucial moment. Naturally he was filled with anxiety. That person couldn't help but urged, "Princess, are you not going to save young Master Chu? If Princess is not willing, then we can only bypass Princess's command and save young Master first." After that person finished, he stared at Qing Gu. But he still didn't get any response from Qing Gu. That person was so angry that he flicked his sleeves angrily and turned around to rush towards Chu Wuxian's direction. Just as he turned around, a sharp pain came from his chest. It was as if something sharp had torn his body apart. That person lowered his head and saw his chest. A slender jade-like hand had pierced through him. "Princess, princess." That person was astonished. He turned his head in disbelief and looked behind him. It was Qing Ji's hand that had penetrated his chest. The princess of the illusion race wanted to kill him? Princess? Grand Elder Huan III. Grand Elder Huan III. The people of the illusion tribe were stunned when they saw this scene. Why did the princess kill the 3 founding elders? The person known as Grand Elder Huan III had no way of knowing the answer. When he turned around and saw Qing Ji's sinister smile on her face, he felt a chill run down his spine. The hand that pierced through his chest tightened its grip. Ka! His heart was crushed. Huan San died with everlasting regret. Qing Gu slowly withdrew her hand. Her slender fingers and fair arms were stained with sticky blood. She raised her head slightly, revealing her exquisite face. That one glance caused everyone's hearts to contract abruptly. What kind of face was that? What kind of eyes were those? That clearly delicate and beautiful face was now twisted into a ball of malevolence. The contorted lines were extremely terrifying. That pair of eyes was also filled with a sinister smile. It was as if she didn't care about anything in the world. Then, the crowd watched as Qing Gu slowly opened up her bloody hand. Chapter 52-25. Her blood-drenched hands were slender and delicate. Between her fingers was a piece of jade that shone with a mysterious light. That was the profound heart jade. Elder Huan III's profound heart jade had been dug out by Qing Gu. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" The illusion clan members exclaimed in shock. They looked at Qing Gu with fear in their eyes. They could not believe their eyes. Their illusion clan had been exterminated 10,000 years ago until now. There were only 20 of them left. Because of this, even if someone from the illusion clan did something to harm Li, they would only punish him. At most, they would punish him a little. It was impossible for them to take his life. But now, their lady princess had actually attacked, and killed Grand Elder Huan III, who had done nothing wrong at all. Elder Huan III was second only to the princess in the illusion clan. Why would the princess do this? The people of the illusion clan were puzzled. Qing Gu followed the voice and looked at the illusion clan member. The smile at the corner of her mouth was sinister and terrifying. After that, a figure suddenly flashed, and it suddenly flew towards the person who spoke. Elder Huan III had been hit because he was not on guard against Qing Gu. But this time, the people of the illusory tribe were already frightened by Qing Ji's strange appearance. They saw Qing Gu move. Everyone dodged to the side. But Qing Ji's strength was above theirs. The person who had spoken just now tried to escape. However, Qing Gu still managed to grab him by the neck and press him to the ground. Dong! There was a loud bang. That person's head was pressed against the rain. He could even feel a sticky liquid seeping out of his head. He opened his mouth and struggled to break free of Qing Ji's hand. But he had no chance to struggle. He felt a dull pain in his chest. Qing Ji's hand, which was stained with Elder Huan III's blood, stabbed into his heart. Then there was no more sound. When Qing Gu pulled her hand back, there was a profound heart jade in her palm. The people of the illusion clan did not dare to speak anymore. They looked at Qing Gu in shock and fear. Their princess had killed another illusory race member. Could it be that the princess had lost her mind? What are you all standing there for? Wait for her to kill all of you. Right when everyone was shocked and terrified, and their minds were filled with wild guesses, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly entered into their ears. Everyone was taken aback and looked in the direction of the voice. The girl who had been restraining Zhu Wuxin was now looking at them calmly. The black-haired, peach-colored young woman had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, there was not the slightest trace of emotion on her face. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be covered in frost. There was also a hint of sarcasm in his voice. It was as if he was mocking their stupidity and ignorance. When they were looking at Yiqing Luo, Qing Gu also glanced sideways, as she stared at Yiqing Luo sinisterly. The murderous intent in his eyes was surging like a tide, as though it wanted to swallow Yiqing Luo up. Is this your doing? What did you do to our princess? Someone couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and cursed while gnashing his teeth. As soon as he said that, the crowd seemed to have found an excuse as they stared angrily at Yiqing Luo as they started to accuse her. You guys are really stupid. No wonder the once mysterious and powerful illusion clan had fallen to such a state. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly, as her tone was filled with ridicule. You guys can't even read a person's heart. How did you manage to divine for others, predict the future? But now, he stood on Huang Wuyo's side and killed his own clansmen. Using this kind of behavior, they were trying to please their enemies by wiping out their own clan. What a joke. But, he had to admit, Huang Wuyo's brainwashing ability was truly strong. Cut the crap. Qing Gu sneered, how I want to avenge my people has nothing to do with an outsider like you. You're trying to sow discord between me and my people. It's obvious that you're flustered now. Her cold and sinister smile made her face look even more terrifying. In that pair of sinister eyes, the profound yin qi was getting thicker and thicker. It almost covered her eyes, leaving behind a patch of thick black. Chapter 52-27. Yiqing Luo gave a light scoff as her long and narrow eyes glistened. She gave a casual smile, oh, do whatever you want then. Anyway, whether your Mirage Clan's people are dead or alive, it doesn't have much to do with me. Qing Gu raised her hand and pointed at the people from the illusory tribe. All of you, capture that bitch. The faces of the people of the illusion race paled. Looking at the ferocious and obviously crazy Her Highness, they stammered, but young master. Young master is still in her hands. If they make a move. Wasn't she going to make an example out of young master? Why are you panicking? Although the clear pigeon had accepted Huang Wuyo's deal, it did not mean that it had lost its consciousness. She looked at Yiqing Luo with cold ridicule as her eyes were filled with ridicule. This big sister Feng Qing Luo, what Feng Qing Luo is most concerned about is the so-called comradeship. Young master treats her so well and has saved her so many times. How could she really do anything to young master? Left and right, I'm just scaring you. Qing Ji's tone was firm. The people of the illusion race looked at each other, not sure if they should believe him or not. Qing Ji's red lips curled into a sinister smile. If you don't believe me, you can try. This princess is sure that big sister Feng's conscience will never allow her to kill the young master who loves her so deeply. Even if Qing Gu was so sure. No one from the illusion race moved. All of them took a look at Qing Gu and then looked at Zhu Wu Xian who was being restrained in Yiqing Luo's hands. There was an obvious bloodstain on Zhu Wuxin's neck. Fresh blood also stained the sharp silver dagger that shone with a piercingly cold light. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like, he was unwilling to kill. Their young lord was the only one in this world with the purest bloodline of the illusory race, and he was even purer than the illusory princess. He was the young master who had inherited the inheritance of the illusion tribe's ancestor. How could they use the young master's life as a wager? The people of the illusion race were silent and hesitant for a long time. Qinggu lost her patience. She raised her hand. Her eyes, which were filled with dark energy, coldly looked at the people of the illusion clan. The majestic and thick profound chi was suddenly blasted away. The members of the illusion race were sent flying, each of them slamming into a stone wall and then falling heavily onto the ground. Qinggu leaped up and pounced towards the nearest illusory tribe member. Her bloodied hand directly pierced into his chest. "Since you won't listen to me, then what's the use of you?" The woman's ruthless words were completely emotionless. Your Highness, you can't do that. Our illusory tribe has no one left. Don't be fooled by revered Carefree. He wants to borrow your hand to destroy the entire illusory race. The people of the illusion race shouted at the top of their lungs to stop Qinggu. But he still couldn't stop this woman's ruthless and merciless actions. Bang! Qingji's hand slammed into the ground with a loud thud. Oh! The woman let out a muffled groan. Because she didn't tighten her grip, her jade-like fingers, which were stained with blood, slammed into the ground, causing severe pain. Qinggu felt as if her fingers were broken. Her face contorted in pain. The people of the illusory tribe heaved a sigh of relief. Just when Qingji's hand stabbed into the chest of the illusory race member and dug out his profound heart jade, just like Elder Huan III. Suddenly, that person's body seemed to be dragged by something. Chapter 52-28. His entire body slid backwards. And even on the ground, dragging a faint trace. Coincidentally, it avoided Qingji's attack. TSK, so cruel. The young lady's clear and melodious laughter, with a hint of ridicule in her voice, rang faintly. Qinggu shot a vicious glare over. She saw the young lady clutching Zhu Wuxian's neck with one hand, while the other hand was gently waving the glower flame fan. It was clearly seen. On the young lady's glower flame fan, there were many curved silver threads, as though they were broken, twining around that leg. "It's you?" Qinggu frowned. Earlier she almost dug out that raw profound jade heart. It was this slut who used the silver threads to pull that person apart. Yiqing Luo felt her heart aching as she looked at the curved and twisted silver wires which had exploded into balls of hair. She kept the silver threads back into the glower flame fan and drew out her dagger again, placing it towards Zhu Wuxian's neck. After she finished all these, she then casually raised her eyes, as she looked at Qinggu with ridicule. Illusion clan's princess personally harming her own clansmen. This show is really interesting. Even her smile was so casual. Qingji's mood turned gloomy. Her fingers clenched tightly, as anger surfaced in her eyes. "This princess is cleaning up the clan, what has it got to do with you? Mind your own business." Yiqing Luo smiled like a flower. "Seeing your unhappy look, I feel very happy. So, you want to kill them, but I won't let you." Her words had just ended. At a close distance, she heard an unconcealable chuckle, as it entered her ears. It was Zhu Wuxian who was clamped in her hands. Perhaps it was because of the effects of the medicine, his deep and cold eyes were a little misty. His thin lips were raised, as he smiled. Yiqing Luo seemed as though her thoughts were seen through, as her slender brows creased, as she stared at him. "Shut up. Be a good hostage." This wasn't because she was soft-hearted. After all, these people from the Illusion clan were the last remaining clansmen of the Illusion clan. If they all died under Qingji's hands, Zhu Wuxian would really be left alone. Although she was very angry with Zhu Wuxian's actions, although she had Zhu Wuxian as a hostage in her hands. In any case, he had saved her life before. He could be considered as her friend. Although he couldn't respond to Zhu Wuxian's feelings, but that didn't mean she was really cold and heartless. Obviously, Zhu Wuxian also saw through her intentions. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered with Zhu Wuxian as she raised her eyes to take a look at Qing Gu and subsequently swept her gaze towards those people from the illusory clan. What are you all still standing there for? Are you tired of living? It was probably because Yiqing Luo had made a move earlier to save a Mirage clansman from Princess Darao. After the illusory clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, almost reflexively, he crawled up from the ground and ran towards Yiqing Luo's direction. They had completely forgotten that the protector they were seeking now was the person who controlled their young master's life. This scene made Qing Gu even angrier. That pair of eyes that were burning with anger were filled with thick black yin qi. Good. Good. Since all of you want to betray the illusion tribe, I will fulfill your wish. Qing Gu roared angrily. She suddenly clenched the two profound heart jades in her palms. Following that, she threw it towards the stone cave which was obstructed by the restrictive array. The moment the profound heart jades were thrown towards that direction, the outer boundary of the stone cave seemed to have a layer of water ripples. Immediately following that, the profound heart jades entered the stone cave. Chapter 52-29. She actually threw the profound heart jade. To revered Worryless. Princess, what are you trying to do? Revered Worryless is currently in a period of heavy injuries. We can take this opportunity to complete our plan. By giving him the profound heart jade, wouldn't it speed up the recovery of his energy? Princess, the minute Revered Worryless regains his energy, all of us will die. The people from the Illusion clan had completely understood what was going on. Their princess had probably been bewitched by Revered Worryless. Otherwise, why would she help Revered Worryless? A bunch of traitors. What rights do you have to teach me? After Qing Gu threw the profound heart jade into the stone cave, her eyes which were filled with a dense dark aura looked towards the group of Illusion clan who were hiding behind Yiqing Luo. The murderous intent in her eyes was extremely obvious. She wanted to kill all of them. The people from the Illusion clan were in a state of shock as their breathing became stagnant. They stared at Qing Gu anxiously as they were in a dilemma. Just as they were feeling unsettled and on guard, they would explode at any moment. Suddenly, a young lady's mocking laughter rang melodiously in the tunnel. That laughter was extremely pleasing to the ear. You're all so silly, at this stage, what are you still hesitating for? The young lady ridiculed, you're worried that she's the Illusion clan's princess so you don't dare to make a move. But she doesn't have any misgivings. You're the last batch of people from the Illusion clan. The young lady's pink lips curled up as her gaze swept past the people from the Illusion clan. Her eyes were filled with disdain and ridicule. She's thinking of using your profound heart jade to increase Huang Wuyo's strength. Yiqing Luo held onto the glower flame fan as the sharp dagger tapped on Zhu Wuxian's neck. The silver light was biting cold as it flickered. That made the people from the Illusion clan's hearts palpitate, afraid that if she wasn't careful, the dagger would slash through their young master's neck. Why don't I give you a suggestion? The young lady was very satisfied with her actions, attracting everyone's attention. She smiled at them, you guys join hands and kill your Illusion clan's princess other than killing Qing Gu. There was no other way. Unless they wanted to die. After knowing that Qing Gu had become a demon and was standing on Huang Wuyo's side, she became his pawn. He even willingly gave Qing Pigeon his head and his profound heart jade. Then she had nothing to say. In any case, she had already saved those who she could. What should be done had already been done. Did he want to live or die? That would depend on their own choices. She wasn't exactly leaving him in the lurch. This could be considered as repaying a favor to Zhu Wuxin. The people of the Illusion clan were silent, listening to the girl's understatement, asking them to kill their princess. How could they bear to do it? The princess was the hope of the Illusion race. How could they kill the princess? Oh, it's fine if you don't want to. Yiqing Luo had already seen the answer from everyone's faces as she spread out her hands indifferently and shrugged her shoulders. Then why don't all of you crush your own profound jade heart and self-explode now? When she said this, she laughed incomparably viciously. At least this way, your profound heart jades won't become Huang Wuyo's energy. She had finally poisoned Huang Wuyo till he was weak. She wouldn't allow that bunch of people from the Illusion clan to destroy this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 52:30. Once Huang Wuyo regained his strength, the chances of sealing it again were minuscule. If the Illusory clan insisted on helping the tyrant, she could only destroy the chance for them to help the tyrant. Yiqing Luo's narrow eyes squinted dangerously as her fingers which were holding the glower flame fan tightened slightly. When the Illusory clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, their expressions turned extremely gloomy. This young lady's words were simply too vile. It was totally stabbing a knife into their hearts. Huan Luo's dainty face congealed into a ball as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. You woman, you're really vicious. I'm vicious? Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed. I won't kill my own clansman. Yiqing Luo's words were filled with ridicule. Just based on Qing Ji's earlier actions, Huan Luo had no way to deny or rebut. Her face was flushed red with anger. But most of it was shame and indignation. Just as the Illusory clan's hearts were surging with waves of shock. Suddenly, a chilly yet slightly weak voice sounded extremely clear in the quiet tunnel. Listen to her. Those three words were like thunder, exploding in the Illusory clan's minds. The Illusory clan's people were stunned for a moment. A slightly older elder who looked like a veteran tried to probe. Young patriarch? That was young patriarch's voice. The man who was being held hostage by the young lady, that pair of deep dark cold eyes reflected a biting cold glint. If it wasn't for that pair of eyes, which were obviously misty and hazy, everyone was suspecting if their young patriarch wasn't affected by the medicinal effect at all. That kind of cold, frosty gaze. It made everyone subconsciously tensed up their emotions. Illusory clan never keeps any traitors. Zhu Wuxian's cold thin lips moved slightly as he spoke coldly. Since Princess has already sided with the enemy, then you're no longer a member of the Illusory clan. Qing Ji's expression was sinister as she stared at Zhu Wuxian. Young patriarch, are you banishing me because of that woman? The moment you took action against our clansmen, you lost your princess identity. Zhu Wuxian replied indifferently. Qing Gu did not get angry. Instead, she laughed. Her eyes were filled with mockery. Young master, you sure sound nice. It's all because of that woman. What do you mean, this princess defected to the enemy? What about you? As the young master of the Illusion clan, you fell in love with the daughter of the enemy. Shouldn't a young master like you be called a traitor of the Illusion clan? Her words directly pointed out that Zhu Wuxin had forgotten his friends in the face of love. For an unrelated girl, he had expelled her, the princess of the Illusion race. To be able to expel her today. Tomorrow, for the sake of that girl, he would expel the others. In the end, the entire Illusory race would be destroyed in the hands of that girl. She was also reminding the Illusory race, that girl was Huang Wuyo's biological daughter. The coldness on Zhu Wuxin's face deepened. He clenched his fists tightly, and a layer of frost gathered in his eyes. It was as if a thick fog was spreading in his eyes. Kill. He was too lazy to argue with Qing Gu, so he spat out the cold words indifferently. That word fell. The hesitant illusory tribe members glanced at Qing Gu. After a moment of silence, they suddenly swarmed toward Qing Gu. To them, the princess of the illusion race was of noble status. She was also the hope of the illusion race. But, compared to the young master, they were more inclined towards the young master. For so many years, it was the young master who had devoted himself to the illusion race. He was bent on revenge. Chapter 52-31. Although they were worried about what Qing Gu said earlier, they would be worried in their hearts. But they believed that their young matriarch would absolutely not treat the illusion clan as a joke. At least, young matriarch had never hurt the illusion clan. As for Qing Gu, killed 2 illusion clan members consecutively. Moreover, that newly appointed divine phoenix, Feng Qing Luo, although she seemed to despise them, but she had still saved them. Saved them from Qing Ji's hands. They weren't blind, they had eyes. They weren't fools, they could feel it. Naturally they could see who was right and who was wrong. After Zhu Wu Xian gave this command, they hesitated for a moment because of their loyalty and made the final decision. Qing Gu sneered coldly. Her eyes were filled with malice and anger. Facing the illusion clan's people who were pouncing on her, she totally had no emotions. Swiftly, she fought with them. Suddenly, a group of illusion clan members who followed her into Huang Wuyu's sealed grounds. Just like that, they started their internal fighting mode. Yiqing Luo restrained Zhu Wu Xian and was left to one side. Yiqing Luo might as well throw Zhu Wu Xian to one side, to a safe position. The man who was leaning against the stone wall raised his slightly hazy cold eyes as he stared at her. Where are you going? Just stay here and watch with your own eyes how your clansmen kill each other. Yiqing Luo's voice was calm and the words she said didn't have much emotions. But when it fell into Zhu Wu Xian's ears, it was extremely cruel. Don't think that I saved the illusion clan because of you. You don't need to think that I care about you. You've made use of my trust several times and poisoned me. I will not forgive you. Now, you should enjoy the feeling of being poisoned and being powerless. Yiqing Luo finished her words and didn't bother about Zhu Wu Xian. She walked straight towards the front, towards the stone cave which was sealed by the array. On the other side, the illusion clan and Qing Gu were locked in a fight so no one noticed Yiqing Luo's actions. Yiqing Luo stood outside the stone cave as her gaze penetrated the stone cave and into the stone cave. The cave in front of them was an empty tomb chamber. There was nothing else except for the steep stone walls. It was as if the other end of the cave was nothing more than an empty tomb chamber. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers lightly pressed on the azure dew bracelet. The flowing red aura lingered around the girl's slender white fingertips. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly. He raised his eyes to look at the cave again. The cave was completely different from what he had seen earlier. The originally empty tomb chamber was now covered by a hazy black fog. The hazy fog was thick and black, covering the entire cave. Black ripples could be vaguely seen on the surface of the water. That was Forbidden Array. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as her gaze congealed a little. If it was anyone else who couldn't see the thick black mist and recklessly approached it, they would probably be swallowed by the formation. She had to think of a way to deal with this forbidden array. She absolutely could not let Huang Wuyo regain his strength. Take his life while he was down, that was her aim. Yiqing Luo's eyes reflected a dangerous cold glint. From the corner of her eyes, she suddenly saw a figure. She congealed for a moment and suddenly her figure moved as she leapt towards that person. She stretched out her hand and pulled that person over. The lady who was locked in a fight with the Illusion clan and Qinggu was pulled over for no apparent reason. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.